It's Lynch. And James Lynch wraps him up.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
On the fake, on the slant, it's Denzel Mims. And the Bears take the lead.
Here's David, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
Here we go. This 3 o'clock hour, we take you the next 3 hours into the weekend. We have evidence, we have facts, we have data, we have names and teams and players. And that's just the first round of 7 rounds in the NFL draft. Many things to get to. Does Denzel Mims of Baylor, is he drafted tonight? Is James Lynch drafted sometime tonight? Is Grayson Arnold a part of tonight? And also, does the SEC dominate round 1 with, I think, 15 or 16 players drafted? Do they continue to draft heavily into the SEC, although the Big 12 had, I think, 5 as is the Big 10. All right, Patrick Queen, linebacker from LSU. Taylor Bryan had this from Baylor. The 26th player off a Dave Aranda defense since 2012 and the 6th first-rounder to be drafted.
It's a pretty nice stat that Taylor threw out last night. He's ready to go, and I saw, an LSU defender come off the board, and the immediate thought was, Dave Aranda. There's a connection there. And then a second LSU defender, and it's like another Dave Aranda guy, not to mention the offensive LSU players drafted he went against in practice every day. So there were a lot of ties. There were a lot of Baylor mentions on the broadcast last night as well. Matt Rule making his first draft pick. But, that was entertaining. It was different some ways from the typical draft broadcasts that we see, but it was entertaining. It was nice to see that broadcast last night.
I enjoyed it thoroughly. I thought that there was a lot of funny stuff that happened, a lot of interesting stuff. I got to say, and people can legitimately, dump on ESPN and whatever network that they don't. I thought the way that ESPN, NFL Network, and ABC put all that together, I like flipping back and forth with the College Game Day guys doing the ABC one, so you get the perspective on one, and then you flip over and watch the NFL Network and ESPN guys. That had to be really hard to do.
Let me tell you something. Let's put it in perspective. And we do have notes, of course, the Cowboys are becoming better and better in this draft business by doing what the good teams do, by waiting for talent to fall in their lap like they did with either CeeDee Lamb or Chason, and they get the spectacular wide receiver from Oklahoma as if they need more bells and whistles. We are in the business. We're all here within, the 5 or 8, 10 feet of each other, right? Mm-hmm. Dylan Chapman, by the way, with us today. But we can see each other. Now, we could do this show if you were here and I was there and Craig was somewhere else, and we could still do that because we've done this long enough. It's called an IFB, which is a fan word for an earpiece. A producer or director or somebody can talk to you. You don't see them. And imagine doing that with all of the talent, with all of the various cameras, with all the teams, with all of the players, with all the reporters and analysts, and it's just coming basically through ears.
Yeah, I can tell you just from my personal experience on Outside the Lines when I did that segment with Bob Lee, and they put an IFB in my ear, and there were actually 2 producers in 2 different cities having a very profane argument with one another, and that's another story for another day. But that was just for a hit for me and Mark Schleyboss, 2 spots in the same spot, and it was in the same place. It was hard.
No, I remember the first live shot I ever did in television. I was scared to death because I was nervous about being live. And then you get used to it. You have an earpiece. But then you add, dozens and dozens of names. There's going to be a glitch or two. I see people I thought it, considering the circumstances, it was spectacular. Am I right? The Cowboys, 254-339-1122 on the Riverbend Liquor and Wine text line. The Willis Law Firm chat room. Your thoughts about the Cowboys and CeeDee Lamb. Your thoughts of how many Baylor players were drafted in day 2? 1, 2, 4?
I had the selection we put up on the poll was 3, 4, 5 or more. That way it keeps it simple.
The rest of the draft.
Yeah, the rest of the draft.
Okay.
The next 2 days. Because I would say the Bears 3 because Denzel Mims, James Lynch, and Grayson Arnold are all going to get drafted. And then I would think it's probably in the 5 range because I think Jamison Houston probably gets picked up. And then you take your pick of some of the other guys. Somebody probably, those 7th round gets, that's where you get guys so they don't get signed by someone else.
That's the Sick 'em 3-5 radio question of the day. How many players will be drafted by Baylor players in the next 2 days? Craig, what would be your pick?
I'd say like around 5 guys get drafted. You know, I haven't sat down and written it down in 5 firmly, but just off the top of my head answering that question, I'd say around 5. I think Grayson gets drafted. I think Denzel and James Lynch obviously get drafted. And I think 1 or 2 more, like a Bravion Roy or Jermichael Hasty, you know, some guys in the 6th, 7th rounds I think could be additions as well. So I'll say around 5 guys. I mean, 3 will be for sure. I think 3 you can lock in, but I do think there will probably be 1 or 2 others that are able to get into that mix as well. But I think when all is said and done, undrafted-wise, it'll be closer to 10. But I know that's not the question you're asking. And going back to that Dave Aranda stat that you threw, I mean, that's not just something to you know, lightly go over. 26 players off Dave Aranda defenses since 2012. And that's, I mean, 3 guys at a clip each year offense going to the NFL. That's pretty incredible. And with the defensive success Baylor had last year and how excited that got people, I think you got to be frothing at the mouth to know that this staff could actually improve recruiting and bring in even better players based on what Matt Rule was able to finish out with, the success he was able to finish out with, but also the success of this staff. So I think that's got to get a lot of people excited about defenses for years to come.
So it's Paul Catalina, it's Craig Smoke, I'm David Smoke, and then Dylan Chapman is here today. Deontay Epps was here visiting us yesterday. And by the way, I want to shout out to our great friend Andrew Baker, who's listening today on Sikkim 365 Radio as well. Now, how about this note? When Baylor beat TCU in triple overtime up north, Jalen Reagor, the year before, destroyed Baylor with 2 plays. Two plays. A punt return and then a flea flicker reverse. He had 2 carries for 4 yards, 1 catch for 8 yards. I think Jamison Houston had him pretty much
just shut him
on and
down.
off. Just
shut him down.
Just couldn't do anything. And then you wonder, well, what the hell was TCU thinking when they only got 3 touches in the first? He didn't do anything with punt returns either. He is a spectacular, dynamic type player. He was drafted, and I'm not arguing with Jalen being drafted, but that should be, if the people are watching the film, with what Jamison Houston did. And that same day, Jeff Gladney, who's a really good corner who was drafted in the first round, Denzel Mims and Gladney had a fantastic battle in that game. Denzel made big plays in that. It's just, you know, I've had some of you go, hey, how did that happen? It's a fit, and it's sometimes not just one game. Jalen Reagor's a fan. Remember what Matt Rule said about him?
Yeah, I mean, they're great individual players. That's why they're getting drafted, is they're great individuals. It worked out at TCU from a team aspect. Clearly it did not. If you have 3 first-rounders and you don't even make a bowl game, I mean, that's a bit problematic. But no, just because you didn't have a great team doesn't mean they don't have great players, and they clearly have some great players as evidenced by last night.
All right, Riverbend Liquor and Wine, the text line, 254-339-1122. Let's go. Let's go into the weekend with our hair on fire. How many players from Baylor will be drafted today and or tomorrow combined from 3, 4, 5, or whatever? And who will they be? 254-339-1122. Also, the chat room brought to you by the Willis Law Firm. The Willis Law Firm out of Houston on the Sikkim 365 Willis Law Firm chat room. Also, 6 players from the state of Texas, 7 from the state of Texas drafted. 15 from the SEC drafted.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. I mean, to have nearly first round, I mean, that is pretty crazy.
6 of the first 10. Yeah. 5 from the Big 10, 5 from the Big 12. ACC, Pac-12 had 3. Mountain West had 1.
Hey, I don't think we need to gloss over, and not that you were, but I don't think we need to gloss over the Big Six last night, because that was actually a good number of picks for the Big 12 in the first round versus, I guess the last several years.
Yeah.
I mean, especially if you take out the automatic Oklahoma first rounder, then it's really been kind of few and far between for the Big 12 schools to have a guy. I mean, there's occasionally a TCU player. You know, they had, was it Collier last year?
Yeah.
That went in the first play. You know, occasionally there's a guy or 2, but to not only have, 5 guys, which is, I don't know, it seems like the most they've had in quite some time. But the biggest thing is who those 5 guys were. And think of the Big 12. Those were not a bunch of quarterbacks and wide receivers and skill guys. Those were defensive players for the most part. They were getting drafted out of the Big 12. So I think that shows you the way the conference had sort of flipped as of last year, and we saw that with the play of most every team, that there was a reliant defense or a move towards defense, and that showed last night. So I think that's a good thing for the Big 12 to play off of and really use to their advantage in recruiting and be able to say, like, hey, yeah, we didn't have first round, but look, we're playing some defense here, and we're getting some guys drafted in the first round.
For those of you listening to us on Periscope, YouTube, for Sikkim 365. Thank you on this Friday afternoon. Just got a note from D. Carter about something with his internet. The audio might be skipping.
Yeah,
a lot of times.
I'm working on that. I don't know what's going on. So I'm working on it.
We're working on that.
Yeah.
So we'll thank you for letting us know. And hopefully it's not to the point where it's going to keep you from listening because we have an amazing show. David Helman, DallasCowboys.com at 3:15. I want to get back to the CeeDee Lamb pick. With 3:45, Grundhoefer on Baylor. 4 o'clock today, Brad Sham, voice of the Cowboys. 4:30, John, former Lorena and Baylor running back, star at Lorena. Put up huge numbers. At 4:45, 18-year NFL veteran Josh McCown on evaluating quarterbacks. His thoughts. 5 o'clock, Danny White. 5:30, Hall of Famer Warren Moon. Right here on Sikkim 365 Radio. CeeDee Lamb. Craig, you're a huge Oklahoma fan. There was thoughts that he would probably be gone by the 8th, 9th, 10th, 12th pick. Were you stunned that he was there when the Cowboys picked at 17?
I mean, sort of, kind of, not entirely. I think that, there's a lot of bold proclamations made before the draft, and 95 of them are typically wrong, but we don't go back and revisit those. So you could have had a lot of talking about him not being there, but look, they were all wrong. Every single one of them that said that because he was there. And it's a crapshoot. You just don't know how it's going to unfold. The percentages might have been low or not, we're still there in the Cowboys' favor, and they had a choice to make. And, the football brain, the draft best player available versus, draft by need conversation had to come up for them, and they went with the best available player, and I don't blame them for that.
They could have moved down and gotten Chase on perhaps, or might have missed both of them.
Well,
could have gotten a wide receiver a little bit further down, gotten an extra. But what the Cowboys are seemingly starting to do is let the draft come to them.
Well, and they made an egregious 3 years ago when they drafted Taco Charlton. He was not the best player on the board. TJ Watt was the best player on the board, and they thought, well, this guy's more of a 4-3 guy, and TJ Watt's more of a 3-4 guy, so let's not take TJ Watt, as opposed to taking TJ Watt and making it work. And TJ Watt obviously has been better than Taco Charlton, who's now on his second team. CeeDee Lamb was the 6th player they had rated on their board, and they got him at 17. So he's a first round for sure because sometimes teams only have 15, 12 guys rated with first-round grades, and everybody else has second-round grades. Well, he had a first-round grade for sure. If he's the 6th guy on their board, you got to take him. Yeah, he's not the immediate need, but I don't think you can pass that up. And I think you have an embarrassment of riches at wide receiver now.
But let's say that both Lamb and Chason were both ranked 6, 7, 10, 12, whatever. They would still take the offensive player. They can't help themselves. This is not a bad pick. I'm not arguing the pick, right?
Yeah.
They can't. That's like crack.
Yeah.
Offense, weapons. Do you need another one?
No. Mickey said, everybody said, well, you need help at wide receiver, and that's the case. No matter, they could have 6 receivers on the team, and all of them be average to better. And I still feel like every year with the Cowboys, they need a wide receiver for some reason, but. There's a need at the 3rd wide receiver spot, so they have a first-round draft pick now as their 3rd wide receiver, as their 1st wide receiver, and not a first-rounder, but pretty close to it, and Michael Gallup as their number 2 wide receiver. So I look at it from, could they have used help elsewhere? Certainly, but I also look at it from the standpoint of who's going to cover these guys. I mean, who's got a 3rd corner that's going to be able to cover CeeDee Lamb one-on-one regularly? I don't know that there's too many out there. That's what they were looking at, and fascinating pick. I mean, he's going to sell a lot of jerseys. He's going to create a lot of excitement, more so than probably a Chason would. But you still have some obvious need address the next couple of days, but I'm not mad at the CeeDee Lamb pick at all.
All right, 254-339-1122, the Riverbend Liquor and Wine text line open. The Willis Law Firm chat room at Sikkim365.com open. Cowboys, did you like what they did? Are they getting better and better with letting the draft come to them? Not always. No one's perfect. But your thoughts about how many Baylor players are drafted today and or tomorrow combined? And we start with the number 3. We feel like that's the minimum. How much more, if any, than that? We'll come back. David Helman, DallasCowboys.com. Grayson Grundhoefer will join us on Baylor and anything new in the recruiting. Brad, Josh McCown, Danny White, Warren Moon, and former star and Baylor running back John Henry. Here we go, 665. At Ideal MRI, we're blessed to be a part of the Waco. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas. Our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. In today's world, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less, sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs. We offer financing. Everything's included in the price, and more importantly, you'll not get a bill in the mail later on. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about iMRI. You can schedule an appointment safely from home, online in minutes at idealmri.com, or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI. And please remember to follow CDC guidelines and practice social distancing. Be home, except for the essentials, and be safe, and together we'll get through this at idealmri.com.
We are facing some unique challenges at this time. Our part to support not only our community, but our medical providers who are really overtasked right now. Governor Greg Abbott has dental offices to postpone all elective dental procedures, but still be available for dental emergencies. At this time, dental emergencies are those that are defined as something that would make somebody consider going to the emergency room for treatment. We're offering to see you at our office Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 8 to noon, and we will waive all fees. We're doing this to the community and to support the medical system. This will allow the overtasked medical community to focus on the truly needy at this time. In the midst of what seems to be so much gloomy news, we want to send a positive signal of our faith in our community and in each other. We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
All in this together.
We're all in this. We are all in this together.
We're 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 all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together. And God.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Hi, this is Jeff Hume, head football coach at Midway High School, and you're listening to Sikkim 365 Radio with David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
This NFL draft segment on Sikkim 365 Radio is brought to you by Richard Carr Buick Cadillac at the Imperial exit off Loop 340 in Waco.
Here we go with this 3 o'clock hour. We take you until 6. David Helman, DallasCowboys.com, starts right off the top with us here on Sikkim 365 Radio. David, how impressed were you that the Cowboys allowed the draft to come to them and get what they wanted?
Oh, man, I mean, I don't think you could draw up a better scenario than what played out. I mean, the Cowboys said it themselves, and you can't always trust what people tell you around draft time, but I believe it in this regard, which is that in their wildest dreams, they never thought CeeDee Lamb would be available at pick 17. I don't know a draft analyst, fan, media member, or personnel executive who thought that that was realistic. So to hang tight at pick 17 and have that happen for you, I mean, I consider it a dream come true.
It is an embarrassment of riches at wide receiver. Now, they still need to address the defense, but could this in a weird way be like, I want to say 2016, 2018, where the defense was more opportunistic and didn't have to play that much because the offense had the ball just all the time?
maybe. I mean, do the Cowboys need to work on their defense? Absolutely. Like, everybody knows that. But I balk at the idea. Like, I feel like some people think that this is a luxury pick. And maybe, CeeDee Lamb is more talented than we thought they were going to get. But let's not act like receiver was a big need for this team. They did not have a third receiver. Randall Cobb is gone, and the options behind him were a bunch of guys who have barely played in the NFL. So, yeah, I think your offense got a lot better, but I think this was a move they needed to make, whether it was at pick 17 or later on. They needed to address that problem. Luckily for them, they've got 2 picks tonight and a few more on Saturday to try to shore up those problems on defense. But, I think they made their offense a lot better, but, I don't, some people try to frame it like it was this needless thing. I don't think I agree with that.
David, when the time came and Jerry, Steve, and everybody else, and they see CD getting closer and closer, but they also have Chase on sitting there, and there's other options available as well. How much thought do you think went into that pick once they realized that Lamb was available, or him being available, it was just an automatic type of decision?
It's funny. I mean, it was almost like it was a textbook scenario of like why you do your homework in the draft, right? Like Kayvon Chason is a name we've had circled since February. I've been saying for 3 weeks I thought he was going to be the pick, and he would have been if the guy that they hadn't rated number 6 on their board hadn't fallen right in their laps. And yeah, I mean, I think you reconvene and talk about it. And to be honest, I was very curious because I wasn't always confident Cowboys would do that. We've seen them reach for needs in the past, and it's gotten them in trouble. And we've seen them draft the best player available before, too. I would guess at how, if CeeDee Lamb is the 6th-rated player on your board, which they say he was, I doubt the conversation was that long. I don't think it's hard to convince people, hey, we think the world of Chason. We would have been happy to draft him in a scenario, but you can't look that big of a gift in the mouth. You just got to go ahead and pull the trigger, and I doubt there was that much debate about it.
Had they both been ranked in their board, if they'd have been like 8-9 or 6-7, Chason ahead of CeeDee Lamb, would they have gone the other way?
Yeah, I mean, if it was that close, and 8-9, then you're just, I think you're free to pick whatever you think the bigger problem is. And you look at this receiver draft, people have been saying for months, I think you can find difference makers on day 3. There's certainly good players left, tonight. Whereas, I don't love the process of this edge class after the top 2 or 3 guys. So, yeah, I mean, it sucks to move away from like Chason because he's one of about, 3 guys that can upgrade your pass rush right away. But it's a small price to pay for getting a talent like CeeDee Lamb. But it is going to, I think, probably force them to recalculate their strategy here moving forward.
So 51, where do you see the board falling as it comes to them tonight?
That's kind of my point. I mean, right now there's a decent number of intriguing pass rushers sitting there, but how long are they going to last? AJ Epinesa out of Iowa is there. Yetur Gross-Mato, Penn State. You got Zach Vaughn out of Wisconsin. But you've got 7 picks until you're on the board again, and how many of those guys are going to get snatched up? On the other side, it's hard not to think that a really good DB is going to be there. There last night, so all 3 of the really highly touted safeties are still there. Some of the cornerbacks the Cowboys liked a lot in the first round, Trevon Diggs and Christian Fulton, they're still available. And you factor in, some receivers are going to go tonight. Obviously, you think the Cowboys probably aren't looking receiver in the second round. So receivers, offensive linemen, I think they're going to push some defensive players, and I feel pretty confident that a defensive back that they're going to like a lot will probably be to come up on the clock.
What was your McCarthy? And he has so many weapons already on offense, and he finds another one with CeeDee Lamb. But when the Packers had Aaron Rodgers, we know the story about Tedson and McCarthy and whatever relationship they had. What was your thought about Love and the Packers' choice when it seemed like Rodgers has been almost all but begging for them to add pieces to his lineup?
I think it's, I don't have any beef with Aaron Rodgers, but I just think it's the most delicious irony. I mean, what are the odds? What are the odds that Aaron Rodgers would go through the same circumstance that he did as a rookie? I mean, Brett Favre was begging the Packers to draft skilled players in 2005, and they wind up with the future of the franchise. And, it's pretty ironic. Aaron Rodgers never had a skill player drafted in the first round by the Packers when Mike McCarthy was the head coach. Mike McCarthy's first year in Dallas, they take arguably the best receiver on the board to help him bolster his offense. And now Aaron Rodgers is looking at, obviously, you don't draft Jordan Love unless the idea is for him to be the quarterback of the future. So it's really ironic that Aaron Rodgers is seeing he's Brett Favre now. Like, what are the odds that he would have wound up in the same situation?
Well, and no wonder McCarthy had such a big smile on his face when that pick was coming in. He looked like a guy who had some draft freedom with his choices that was pretty excited about it, David.
Great point. The Cowboys have always been collaborative. They were like that when Jason Garrett was here. Obviously, Jason Garrett had plenty of sway in the draft room. But Mike McCarthy himself, he's said numerous times he really wasn't that big of a part of the show in Green Bay. So it's fun to think if the roles had been reversed, do the Packers make that pick for McCarthy in the same situation, or do they opt for the defensive player? It's fun to think about.
What do you think they do offensively for the rest of this draft, if anything?
It would be way too simplistic to think that they're just going to draft defenders. Obviously, drafts don't ever work that way. I don't think they have a high priority on a center. A lot of people talk about that because Travis Frederick retired, but I think they like the options they have on their team. That said, if a guy that they absolutely love falls, and he's, again, much like CeeDee Lamb, if a center has a much higher grade than anybody else, why go away from a great player? Whether that's, Lloyd Cushenberry out of LSU, or maybe Matt Hennessy, the Temple center, I think that's possible. I think they'd like to draft a tight end, and then maybe they'd like to bolster their swing tackle spot. They really only have Brandon Knight there because Cam Fleming left in free agency. So if the grades line up, think you could see him draft any of those three positions. But, again, going back to your point, if the grades are similar, I would expect they're in defense when they can, at least with these two big picks tonight.
I know we got to go, but David, which of these three storylines was to you, I don't know if it was the most bizarre or funny? Mike Vrabel's kids, CeeDee Lamb and the phone that his girlfriend tried to grab, or the Packers pick of Jordan Love?
Oh man, I'm a millennial, so I'm all about a good meme. So all of the funny jokes that came out of the CeeDee Lamb situation were, they were hilarious. But it really is. As a football geek and a draft geek, you couldn't write a better storyline than Aaron Rodgers having to deal with a young quarterback the same way that Brett Favre had to deal with him. That's, like I say, write a book that good. So that'll be fascinating to watch. But that I'm always here for a good internet joke, so that was really fun.
Do you think Aaron Rodgers is self-aware enough to realize that has a job because of the same reason, or do you think he is because he's been known to be cantankerous, or do you think he's so mad he doesn't get it?
I know he's got a reputation for being hard to get along with, and strong-willed and all that, but Aaron Rodgers is also really, really smart. I've had the opportunity to interview him on a couple of occasions. He's definitely one of the smartest guys in the NFL. There's no way he can, on some level, he might be mad, but he absolutely understands and appreciates the irony of the nation. There's no way that he can.
David, great to have you. Good to hear from you, man. Appreciate it. David Helman.
Absolutely. Glad to be on, guys. Thanks a lot.
David, DallasCowboys.com. He's a huge LSU fan. That's obvious. But you know that when Chason was available, he was Chason, his LSU blood, but then again, the CeeDee Lamb pick. And you could just see that happening. And then you have to have two other teams that pick receivers, both of them Ruggs first and then Judy. And
and that's what I thought CeeDee Lamb, because you look at the board at Jerry Jeudy, or right before, Jerry Jeudy, CeeDee Lamb, and Chason are all still there. Well, that the Falcons, just having drafted Calvin Ridley, and they have they have Julio Jones, they're full at receiver. To spend a first-round draft pick at wide receiver would be kind of silly for them.
But if, let's say, Lamb was gone.
Yeah, if Lamb was gone,
I think that it being specifically CeeDee Lamb played into it a little bit. I don't know that if it was Henry Ruggs. Now, I still need help as a third wide receiver, but I just think Lamb is the complete package.
Is that the Raiders got Ruggs, right?
Yeah, they went with a speed guy.
It's like they had Ron, they had, of course they had
James Jett.
Ishmael.
I would be proud. Yeah. I would be proud for last night's pick. But, yeah, I think, or I'd be curious to know if you could go into a throwback
Cliff
machine.
Branch,
if you were to, same scenario in front of them, but let's say it was CeeDee Lamb that had been taken by the Raiders and those other were available. I don't know that it's a guarantee they still go wide receiver.
Yeah,
I think part of it was CeeDee Lamb. And on the Aaron Rodgers thing, it was funny because last night I'm sitting there as the draft's about to get going, and I see Pat McAfee tweet out a link of him and A.J. Hawk doing this draft special. So I'm like, oh, well, that'll be a neat alternative to like the typical network broadcast. I'll watch that. And especially when touted they were going to have Aaron Rodgers on. I'm like, wow, he doesn't do a ton of interviews, and I know how McAfee typically interviews, so this should be kind of fun, right? It's not your typical kind of very serious tone. So I'm like, wow, Aaron Rodgers on draft night during the first round and in kind of a funny setting, and he was great. He was on there for like a half hour, and I don't know, like 5 or so picks before the Packers were getting ready to select, they were like, hey, man, you've given us a half hour. Like, blown away that he had done with them for that long and let him, go off and watch the rest of the draft. And, man, it wasn't but about 20 minutes later when that pick came up. And A.J. Hawk's, obviously a big Green Bay guy, so he's seeing this pick come down. He's absolutely stunned by it. McAfee's blown over by it. And then, of course, all the listeners are like, hey, go text Aaron back, get him back on the show, see what his thoughts are. And, oh, man, that would have been interesting to see. It would have been really interesting to see if he had been live with them when that pick. Like, the only way it got more perfect. But it was really interesting to hear him talk about his draft. And he was talking about what he thought the Packers should do. And it was definitely not picking a quarterback. Like, it was just such a weird thing to watch him and then go see what Green Bay did a few moments later. Just craziness.
All right, I got to admit something, and then we break. We have to come back. Who are the best players available? And I have to get feedback from everybody today about what Vrabel sons. Was it the CeeDee Lamb phone girlfriend? Whoa. Or was it the Aaron Rodgers story in the Packers and Jordan Love? Which of those three did you think was the dominant story last night? Now, I got fooled by a fall account last night.
You did.
I was starting to kind of get ready. I was crashing a little bit, and I saw the note from whoever, like Jason Lockenfora or Vin Rappaport, whoever, and it was the fake account that they just had gotten a quote from Aaron Rodgers, and initially I bid on that.
Yeah.
Because it made sense. Mm-hmm. It made sense.
He did an interview on the local radio thing and said, look, I'm confident enough that I'll beat out anybody who's here.
I get it, but they need, the next year they had Devontae. Go get, especially Cowboys are a part of the race with you.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. 254-339-1122. We'll have Grayson Grundhoefer at around 345 or so on anything Baylor recruiting. We got Brad Sham, Josh McCown, John Henry, Warren Moon, Danny White. This is Sikkim 365 Radio.
Our communities are facing unprecedented times. At Boozer's Jewelers, we care about you and your family. If you're like me, your home has unwanted or unused jewelry lying around. They can have value, and that means we can turn that jewelry into instant cash. This is a great way to get the most value from your unwanted jewelry. At Boozer's Jewelers, we buy all kinds of unused jewelry. So give us a and let us give you peace of mind and cash for your unwanted or unused jewelry.
Waco, Texas, a place with its own unique history and a future with promise. Full of remarkable growth and opportunity, and what makes it all work is its people, families, and children, growing businesses. Wacoans are hardworking with a passion for what's next, and we're proud to be from here, helping Waco to grow and prosper. We are the First National Bank of Texas. Familiar faces making decisions. Member FDIC and Englander.
Hi, this is Grant Taft, and I'm a proud listener and supporter of the all-new Sikkim 365 radio show with my friend David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke. Sikkim.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We are open to support our community through this crisis. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com. Call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
I hate my job, but I don't mind getting up in the morning. But I can't wait to get out of bed. You ask me why, and what I say to you is true. Well, you can get breakfast tacos at Rudy's Barbecue. Scrambled eggs and brisket, they ain't found. Strap, son, they're the best in town. Barbecue for breakfast, yes, it do. Put a smile on your Rudy's Barbecue.
Next in line.
Hi, this is high school football coach Kevin Hoffman, and I'm a proud listener and all new Sikkim 365 radio show with David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
In this day and age, you must be able to change how you do business. Think out the box to ensure that you service your customers. At Waco Custom Marketplace, we've created our own drive-thru for your Monday, Wednesday, and Friday shows, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. So you can still order and enjoy from our great butcher shop and bakery, including 2 pounds of 8-ounce salmon fillets for $24.05, 2 pounds of 4-ounce catfish fillets for $4.90, sliced ham or turkey, American cheese and smoked sausage, fresh chicken breast, 3.5-pound whole chicken, sliced boneless pork chops, 80-20 ground beef, 4 pieces of sirloin steak or 4 pieces of ribeye steak from $19 to $35. Marinated beef or chicken fajita meat plus a loaf of bread, carrots and Idaho beef potatoes or white onions, pinto beans and white rice, flour tortillas. So the great product, customer service, and tradition continues at Waco Custom Marketplace with a drive-thru only Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Waco Custom Place, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction with a team of 24 experienced agents who are excited about serving you. Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
LSU had 5 players drafted. Alabama had 4. Ohio State 3. Auburn, Clemson, Georgia, Oklahoma, and TCU all had 2. Question today, the Sikkim 365 radio question. How many Baylor players, in your opinion, are drafted between now and the end of the 7th round tomorrow? 3, 4, 5, how many? And perhaps if you want to add in who, that, of course, makes it a little bit better. Now, Leon on the Riverbend Liquor and Wine text line said, Smokey, you got to add one more to the list of the most the story behind just the draft. Was it Aaron Rodgers getting burned by them picking a quarterback and not another weapon? CeeDee Lamb's cell phone grab, Mike Vrabel's kids, I never understood what they were doing, and Cliff Kingsbury's house, which, Craig, you sent that over. You see that, and I saw a different angle from it. It's monstrous.
Yeah, it's very Cliff Kingsbury. Exactly what you think he would be living in if you were just to go off of, what you see on TV. What a bachelor pad. And I don't know, I think he might have a girlfriend, but he is living life in Arizona right now. I'll say the difference is that's not something you see and you laugh at unless you're just laughing out of jealousy. These other things you're just laughing at because they were hysterical. I mean, the CeeDee Lamb girlfriend who, I don't know how long she'll remain the girlfriend after last night with that whole thing, but the phone snatch was funny and awkward. Vrabel's sons were funny and awkward, and the Aaron Rodgers situation was just mind-blowingly shocking and kind of funny and awkward as well, at least awkward for Aaron Rodgers. That was just straight up, wow. Like, holy cow, what a house. And yeah, he was just posted up, feet up on the coffee table, the little setup, and one heck of a nice backyard setup that I think you were probably a little jealous of. But he's doing it big in Arizona, that's for sure. Even some of his players, I think, were jealous by the crib that their coach is living in at the moment.
It was so pristine.
Incredible.
So clean. So Cliff Kingsbury.
Yeah, and he's probably not there that often. Well, he is nowadays, as he probably is. But yeah, it was so Cliff Kingsbury. He always had the Ryan Gosling comparisons because of the haircut and the stubble. Just kind of a similar look, I guess. When Ryan Gosling was a big star, that was a lot more. So he's always had that kind of Hollywood sort of thing about him, and he lived up to it last night with that picture of his house. That certainly fed into the image, if you will.
No question about it. Now, there's still many players, really good names available.
And I like the pick that they got. I thought the Cardinals really had a nice pick, but I think a lot of teams are feeling good after last night.
I don't know. The Raiders pick, you could go, what? Maybe the Ruggs pick, or Judy and or CeeDee Lamb, you could go, what? And that's what they've always had. That's, They've always wanted that dynamic speedster. It's amazing, though, that they had Amari Cooper, but it just didn't work out. Doesn't mean it was because the Raiders. Denzel Mims is one of still many wide receivers that are available. Utah's KJ Hamler, Chase Claypool from State, wide receiver as well. Chenault from Colorado, T. Higgins, Michael Pittman from Clemson, Mims, Lynn Bowden from Kentucky. Will be interesting to see what happened with Jake Fromm and Jalen Hurts at quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, there's no quarterback left that are worthwhile to pick very high. So guys are next, and that Jordan Love pick, he would have been the darling heading into today. But since he was scooped up, then that pretty much eliminated that top tier of quarterbacks that had first round potential. So yeah, now I don't know how much teams are going to want to run up to the podium to draft any of the guys really that are available. I think that the remaining quarterbacks, for the most part, your Jalen Hurts are backup guys. So I think they might be waiting a little while, just because I don't see impending starter on any of these players. But they'll get their turn, obviously, and Jalen Hurts will be an interesting addition for some teams, because I really don't know how it'll work out for him.
He would be the next best one, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean,
and then you've got Eason and Fromm and this guy from FIU. So,
yeah, Eason's still there. DeAndre Swift, running back Georgia, is intriguing to me. Also, Blacklock, who there were thoughts he'd be a first-round pick. TCU had 2, but he would have been a 3rd. Jonathan Taylor, Wisconsin, just a grinder. But he can run. Delpit, right?
I mean, there's only been one round, so there's a lot of great players left. I mean, there's J.K. Dobbins, and there's Devin Duvernay, and tons and tons and tons of guys that are still out there. Denzel Mims is currently the 3rd-ranked wide receiver per ESPN on the book. Pittman of USC and T. Higgins of Clemson, the guys who were rated in that have not been selected yet. A little surprising maybe to some that T. Higgins wasn't selected when the kind of wide receiver run started, and that was interesting to see for Denzel, because it looked at one point like he was clearly not going to be a first pick because there wasn't going on wide receivers, and then there was, and then you thought, okay, well, maybe he has a chance depending on what these teams do. If they keep up the wide receiver picks, then he could potentially sneak in there, but just weren't enough teams went and plucked, a couple more away to give him that opportunity. But, my opinion kind of went back and forth there for a little while on whether or not he had a shot, but he'll most definitely get called tonight. Sometime I would have to think in the 2nd round, and it'll be a beautiful thing when we get to hear his name called.
Yeah, that'll be, and I thought, and boy, Gillette, again, that commercial that he did, it was fantastic. Looked really happy, real clean, ready to go. And Gillette's perfect. I bet Denzel started shaving when he was 6.
Probably. Yeah. Well, could have been.
Like he grew up. He got into drinking milk out of a bottle and he started shaving.
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think so.
Now, Grayson Grundhoefer will join us in the next segment. Sick'em365.com. He's got the gray area that's up on the premium site about recruiting and much more. Then we start with Brad Sham, Henry, Josh McCown, Danny White, and Warren Moon. Sick'em365 on Periscope, Facebook Live, YouTube, Sick'em365. Also, you can follow us and listen to us on Twitter. And we are scratching the surface of what is to come. Thanks to our great sponsors, our title sponsor, Ideal MRI, Craig Smoke, Paul Catalina, David Smoke at Sick'em365 Radio.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community, all family business here in Central Texas. At times like these, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illness and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI. And please, remember to follow senior guidelines and practice social distancing. Stay home, except for the essentials, and be safe. Together, we'll get through this.
Hi, this is Grant Taff, and I'm a proud listener and supporter of all new Sick'em 365 radio show with my friend Dave Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke. Sick'em.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction with a team of 24 experienced agents who are excited about serving you. Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
This is Waco, and this is Boozer's Jewelers. When locals want luxurious jewelry and at a competitive price, they come here. This is Brad Boozer. He's the owner of Boozer's Jewelers. Boozer's is the premier wedding ring store. They specialize in loose diamonds and wedding rings. At Boozer's, they have 7 jewelry counters dedicated to wedding rings and diamonds only. They also specialize in heirloom jewelry, custom jewelry, watches, and much, much more. So what are you waiting for? Stop on in today and discover why the locals trust Boozer Jewelry.
In an age, you must be able to change how you do business. Think outside to ensure that you service your customers. And at Waco Custom Marketplace, we've created our own drive-thru for your Monday, Wednesday, and Friday shopping needs, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. So you can still order and enjoy from our great butcher shop and bakery, including 2 pounds of 8-ounce salmon fillets for $24.05, 2 pounds of 4-ounce catfish fillets for $4.90, sliced ham or turkey, American cheese and smoked sausage, fresh chicken breast, 3.5-pound whole chickens, sliced bacon, boneless pork chops, 80/20 ground beef, 4 pieces of sirloin steak or 4 pieces of ribeye steak from $19 to $35. Marinated beef or chicken fajita meat plus a loaf of bread. Fresh carrots and Idaho or red beet potatoes or white onions. Pinto beans and white rice, flour tortillas. So the great product, customer service, and tradition continues at Waco Custom Marketplace with a drive-thru only Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Hey guys, Scott Stewart here, head football coach of the Fighting Wildcats from Temple High School in Temple, Texas, and you're listening to Sikkim 365 Radio with David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
Here we go, Sikkim 365 Radio. Grayson Grundhoefer, 3-5, starts us off to close out this 3 o'clock hour. Greg?
Grayson, continuing to move on along quite quickly. 2021 class is tape. 2020 is still being worked on as well. But let's start off with the bad and then get to the good, Grayson. Jahdae Barron, a member of the 2020 class that signed with Baylor a couple of months ago, he announces that he will and has received his full release from Baylor. And head coach Dave Aranda, he'll be playing his college football elsewhere. What can you tell us about the loss of Jahdae Barron in the class of 2020?
Yeah, I mean, from a talent standpoint, you have to look at it as a loss. I mean, that's just simply what it is. He was one of the higher-rated guys in the class at a position of need, too. Baylor is not very deep at cornerback right now. They got a lot of, younger guys. They have a few proven guys, but obviously losing Jameson Houston, it's pretty much, Kalen Barnes and Raleigh Tejada right now as guys with proven experience. So it would have been nice to add a piece there, I'm sure, from the Baylor perspective. But, I'll also obviously everyone's recruitment and everyone's decisions are very different. And, I think that's just kind of what ended up happening here. And, of course, Jahdae committed and signed under Coach Rule. And so, there was a lot of changes that took place. And so he decided Baylor wasn't for him. And so he just move on from there. And now Baylor has an extra spot for 2020 and for 2021 possibly.
So Chasson's taken, and Taylor Bryan of Baylor Athletics Communications puts up the stat about, 26 players since Aranda's on a defensive staff, one of his staffs and one of his defenses, 26 players since 2012. Does that register with young high school football?
Definitely. And it's something that Baylor has been really trying to utilize ever since Coach Aranda became the head coach. And it's kind of funny. I mean, you would think that the NFL experience would be kind of the thing that would be the biggest draw, but really a lot of kids and recruits that I talk to are really interested in the fact that he just won a national championship. And I mean, sometimes I think that gets lost because he wasn't, the head coach, but that's another thing that registers really well with recruits. So yeah, it's kind of a combination of both of those things that I've heard a lot of, and I know particular positions especially is something that Aranda has really, really thrived at, whether it's cornerback or, of course, that famous edge jack linebacker position that he has, and that's the position that Caleb Von Chasen obviously played at LSU and then got drafted number 20 to Jacksonville. So yeah, it's registered really well with recruits.
Grayson, with the 2021 class, what's the latest in that regard as far as, offers, kind of focus? Where are they as far as the way that's playing out at the moment?
Yeah, so it's really an interesting class right now because you go through and you look at the offers and you look at the commits that they have, and you kind of see trends. And so it really kind of looks like, they got Jordan Jenkins at running back. It looks like he's probably going to be the only running back in the class. They haven't really put out tight end offers, so I'm kind of getting the feeling that might be something that they're really not prioritizing in this class. They may just not take a tight end, but then you go look at the other positions and you go, wow, they've put out a ton of linebacker offers, so that looks like a position that they're definitely trying to bolster, and wide receiver as well. Which really shouldn't be a surprise. Baylor's been looking around to try to add some bigger, taller receivers to the, steady blend of speed that they already have on campus. But they're trying to add some taller guys, some more height, some jump ball catchers. So you're looking at a lot of offers there as well. So that's kind of the trends that I'm currently seeing. Obviously, you're going to take defensive linemen and offensive linemen, but those other positions where they're at right now, it seems.
With the Blackshear release of his top six, and obviously the names included Baylor, Alabama, LSU, Oklahoma, A&M, and Lovie Smith at Illinois, even if you don't get him, and probably the chances are not good, but being a part of those lists, does that ever lead to a trend that could lead to somebody else recognizing that Kendrick Blackshear has Baylor listed? Does that help any, or is that just more image or PR?
I think it helps when you get consistently. Obviously, Kendrick Blackshear, I think most people, he's the top 20 recruit in Texas at minimum. I would argue 15, but when you do it, it's not just with him though, because you look throughout kind of what Baylor's done in this class, and you go, wow, J.D. Coffey, that's a star safety, and they made his top, I believe, 6 or 8. And so it just comes a trend. Terrell Tillman a week ago, he's a big 3-star type guy that put out a pretty nice offer list in Oregon, Arizona, Texas Tech, and Baylor just continues to make these lists. And so the more you do it consistently, the better chance you have to really get noticed. And I think that's what Baylor's doing a good job of. And obviously the Kendrick Blackshear one was massive and really shouldn't be too surprising because he visited for Junior Day. He has a great relationship with Coach Aranda, dating back to when Coach Aranda was at LSU. And so that relationship has just continued to build. So, yeah, Baylor may end up getting him, but I think it definitely registers in the minds of recruits when they see that.
Grayson Grundhoefer, the Gray Area on the premium, Sikkim365.com, with us on Fridays at 3:45. Thanks for Grayson. Enjoy the weekend. We appreciate you. Coming up next of the Cowboys, Brad Sham on the Cowboys' first-round CeeDee Lamb and how all of that went down, and much more as the draft continues this evening, rounds 2 and 3. This is Sikkim 365 Radio.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient, clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street, a hidden gem in Waco, an absolutely amazing, extensive variety of craft beer selections, the best that you can get here in town. Crown Royal Peach in stock right now, Balcones, Single Malt, Pot Still, Baby Blue, French Oak, Rye, Brimstone, all stuff. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated. And like I said, a hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Find out on Facebook and Instagram.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SC.
In this day and age, you must be able to change how you do business. Think outside the box to where that you service your customers. And at Waco Custom Marketplace, we've created our own drive-thru Monday, Wednesday, and shopping needs 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. So you can still order and enjoy our great butcher shop and bakery. 2 8-ounce salmon fillets for $24.05. 2 pounds of 4-ounce catfish fillets for $4.90. Sliced ham or turkey, American cheese and smoked sausage. Fresh chicken breast, 3.5-pound whole chickens. Sliced bacon, boneless pork chops, 80-20 ground beef, 4 pieces of sirloin steak or 4 pieces of ribeye steak from $19 to $35. Marinated beef or chicken fajita meat plus a loaf of bread. Fresh carrots and Idaho or red beef potatoes or white onions. Pinto beans and white rice, flour tortillas. So the great product, customer service, and tradition continues at Waco Custom Marketplace with a drive-thru only Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
This is Waco, and this is Boozer's Jewelers. When locals want luxurious jewelry and at a competitive price, they come here. This is Brad Boozer. He's the owner of Boozer's Jewelers. Boozer's is the premier wedding ring store. They specialize in loose diamonds and wedding rings. At Boozer's, they have 7 jewelry counters dedicated to wedding rings and diamonds only. They also specialize in heirloom jewelry, custom jewelry, watches, and much, much more. So what are you waiting for? Stop on in today and discover why the locals trust Boozer's for their jewelry.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed, smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. At a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. And a long business meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's group meal.
Next in line.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sport injuries, celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas. Our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in arthritis or total joint clinic. Trust the doctors that Baylor trusts. Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Brewer wants a bunch, left side, got it! Touchdown, Denzel Mims!
Now back to Sikkim 365 Radio, presented by Ideal MRI. Your health is important, so is your budget. Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
All right, here we go. This 4 o'clock. Paul Catalina, David Smoke, Craig Smoke, and Dylan Chapman with us today. We'll have the voice of the Cowboys, Brad Sham, momentarily. And then also today, Henry, a former star at Lorena, played running back at Baylor, and then John Allen, Danny White, Hall of Famer Warren Moon. The rest of our guest lineup for the rest of the day. We've gone over the draft. We've gone over some of the funny parts of the draft, some of the most intriguing parts of the draft. And then the Cowboys waiting and allowing something to fall in their lap with CeeDee Lamb, who they say they had among their top 6 on the board, and the opportunity as well with what they had with Chase on. If that would have been it and Lamb wasn't there, that would have been good too. But we're now joined by the voice of the Cowboys, Brad Sham. Brad, your thoughts as the Cowboys, it seems as if, and I could be wrong with it, but it seems as if they're getting better and better, and they've had some really good drafts. They've allowed draft to fall in their lap or let it come to them.
What they've been doing in the last several years, Smokey, they have been less willing to force the issue, less willing to reach or take an unnecessary chance. And it's been a while, it's been a long while, it's been well before Will McClay was involved, but they do have something in their history of having done that. Now, again, that's not Will's MO. It's no longer Stephen and Jerry's MO. It will be interesting to see. Remember when they got DeMarco Lawrence, they gave up their third-round pick to trade up to the very top second round because they felt a desperate need for a pass rusher, and they thought that he was really the only one worth making a move for at that point. And I don't know if there is one of those. In fact, I feel fairly certain there isn't. There are still some really good players, and I don't know what the draft board looks like. I don't know how they value the defensive players who are still there. But it'll be interesting to see if there are any of them that they value so highly that they're willing to move up from 51, which is, I think, the 19th pick tonight in the second round. But I really, you and I have talked about this many times over the years. I'm a big believer in not reaching. That's like rule one. And trust your board. Now, there will be times that the player who's at the top of your board still doesn't make sense. For instance, if the top player on their board last night at 17 was a quarterback or a running back, that might not have made a lot of sense. Now, if you're picking fourth and it's a quarterback, that's a different story depending on who you have. But where they were, quarterback running back probably wouldn't make sense. They needed a receiver at some point. And they were going to take one, and it might have been today, it might have been tomorrow, and it probably would have been good, and they might step. But when there's a guy who is just top 10, and as you pointed out, they both said, Stephen and Jerry both said last night they had him numbers on their board. And as I exchanged some tweets with our friend Chuck Cooperstein, the voice of the Mavericks today, there's sometimes that a guy drops, and there are reasons. Cowboy fans think of Randy Moss, but he was kind of radioactive in that draft, and they were just coming off some bad stuff off the field, and they couldn't do that. Dan Marino dropped. There were rumors about off-the-field stuff. I don't know if they were true or not, and the Dolphins were certainly thrilled to have him fall to him, but there was a reason. Same with Aaron Rodgers. And sometimes a guy drops, and the only thing I could think of was Carlone, the basketball Hall of Famer, who dropped for no particular reason. Teams just didn't think he was this or that. I mean, you haven't heard anything negative about CeeDee Lamb. There were three receivers who had slightly different traits. So obviously, Ruggs was a little faster, and so somebody put that. Judy is a really, really polished route runner. Somebody preferred that. But Lamb could have been the first one, and there was no reason that was negative other than circumstances and personal preference for him to fall. Well, if that's the case, then, yeah, you got to take him. You, for crying out loud, got to take him. Des Bryant was obviously, what would they take him, 24th? And he had all kinds of issues. And that's the only reason that they were able to get him at 24. That's not the case with CeeDee Lamb. That was just a kind of an accumulation of circumstances, and you cannot pick great players when they just fall to you, especially when you do have a need for them, even if it's not your crying need.
Brad, what do you think their crying need is going into the second and third round?
Defense.
And with a change, do you think that means that maybe every position on defense is open with Mike Nolan being the new defensive coordinator?
Yeah, and Paul, I would think that I would really, Smokey, you guys write this down. Talking in the fall, I said this on April 24th. So everybody in our business has been after Mike McCarthy, and understandably, to make a commitment about what his defensive scheme is. Are you 3-4 or 4-3? 4-3-3-4. What are you? So McCarthy did what I think is a very smart thing, and he said, we're 4-3. And that's the last question he's going to get on it. He said, we're 4-3. But let me tell you what, there will be times that they will line up with 2 men with on the ground and rush 6. And there will be times that they will line up, mark my words, with 2 defensive linemen in the game and rush it. And Dylan Smith may be a pass rusher half the time. And I just think that you're going to get into it, and I differentiate that from the Rob Ryan defense. What the hell are they doing? What's their base? I was never sure that they really had a base with. I think they'll have a base, but I think that guys will play different roles in that base, and it may not be convenient for in our business or fans to be able to pigeonhole them or put them in little boxes. But that doesn't mean they don't have a plan. And the reason that's important, Paul, in answering your question is, do they need secondary help or do they need a pass rusher? Yes. The answer is yes. Clearly, you can't gamble on Randy Gregory and Alden Smith playing. Someone's got to be the right end. Maybe it's someone who was on injured reserve last year. But someone's got to be the right end, and I think they'll probably take one at some point. But I think that if the best guy there at the 19th pick in the second round tonight, if they don't move, is a corner, take him. If he's a defensive end, take him. If he's a safety, take him. If he's a defensive tackle, as long as he's not a nose and limited to doing one thing, take him. Because they'll be able to move them around, and they need them all. Now, they need to come away from the draft with some candidates to contend for a starting cornerback spot and maybe to be a starting defensive end. And I do think that in where they're picking tonight, there might be an end or two who might qualify for that, and they'll have to be a little lucky if they don't move. But what they decide to do is going to be, on paper, the right thing. Now, whether it works out or not, that's what playing it all is for. But whatever they decide to do will be the right thing because, A, they need it, and B, you just make a mistake, in my opinion, if you try to think of guys the same way we've always thought of them. You could have a defense with 4 safeties on the field at some time next year, presuming I'm making this up, but you could have 4 safeties on the field, and 2 of them might be linebackers, and you just don't limit your thinking by putting yourself in a box like that, because I don't think that's how they're looking.
Brad, I was curious how familiar you get with draft prospects. I would imagine there's guys you've seen playing all that, but in particular with CeeDee Lamb, how familiar were you with him? I'd imagine being an Oklahoma guy is a little bit closer to home, so there's some familiarity there. But just how much did you know about a guy like CeeDee Lamb, for example, before the Cowboys selected him last night?
Not a ton. I mean, you study. You want to try to be prepared. But I could not have told you. I could have told you that was the fast one and Judy was the route runner, and some people thought Lamb was the guy who was the most versatile and could do the most things. But I could not tell you specifically. I haven't studied them enough to say, well, here's how those 3 guys compare in finishing a route, or in coming out of the slot, or in coming out of a break. I think Lamb's reputation is that he'll block down the field. He can play inside or outside. Now, the guy the Eagles took, Rager from TCU, he's much more of a slot guy. I think Jefferson from LSU is primarily a slot exclusively. So I think each of them had strengths, but I didn't spend a ton of time breaking them down. I knew that much about him. But obviously, just living in our part of the country, you know that he's a pretty good player.
How did you think? I thought, considering, and you've been in broadcasting for 40-plus years, I thought that considering that there was no studio, that there really was no, what would normally be the setup with the NFL Network and ABC and ESPN, you have been there where you understand and what the director, producer, whatever. What were your thoughts about how the coverage was of wherever you watched it?
Because that's where we're all supposed to be. And Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think that it's hard for me to say what they could have done a whole lot better. You've got a lot of moving parts. One of the hardest, I didn't think the league had any problem handling the technology. Who's got better technology and context in the NFL? And then once I did chance to talk to Jerry and Steven during the week, I was completely convinced that the league and each team was well on top of what they had to do. As you know, though, Smokey, one of the trickiest things, you said IFB, and for people listening who don't know what that means, that's the internal communication that goes between, in a conventional setup, it goes between the producer. If it's television, it'll be somebody in the truck, a producer and a director, and the person on camera. And so you can be talking, and in your earpiece, someone will tell you, get ready to go. Okay, Brad, get ready to go to Paul. Get ready to go to Paul. We're waiting for Paul to get Lamb. Okay, Paul's got Lamb. Brad, go to Paul. And boom, it's then as long as I can talk and listen at the same time, then I finish my thought and I say, meanwhile, Paul's standing by with CD Lamb, and it's flawless. Here, you have to wait for that little lag of the end of the transition to be clear that the other person has it, so you don't talk over each other. And that was the thing that it's really simple once you understand it, but it requires a tremendous amount of patience. And I agree with you, Smokey. I thought they did a great job of that. I can't imagine how they could have done much better with that. There are things they would have liked to have done. They would have loved to have had a reporter in every kid's home.
Yep.
But that's against the rules. We're supposed to socially distance ourselves, except for family. Some of those guys broke a couple of rules, but
Yeah.
That's not for us to judge. But how they could have done it a whole lot better.
The voice of the with this Hall of Famer Brad Sham on Sikkim 365 Radio. Paul?
Brad, what have you been streaming to fill your need? I know that you're a big, baseball fan. It's not going on right now. Like, what have you been streaming or watching to fill your time?
I've got a really full DVR. I've got a lot of series that I like, and then I've tried to catch up some things. I was dragged into Tiger King real early on, and saw that. Now cannot unsee it for the rest of my life. So I did that. There's a Netflix series called Unorthodox that was about a woman leaving an Orthodox Jewish community in Brooklyn, and those are really insular communities, and it was a true story. So I watched that. I've been catching up on Succession, which I'd never watched. And after I got 2 into it, I said, oh, "Holy cow! Are you kidding?" And now they're going to start the 3rd season. And so I got through the first one, and it's season's 10 episodes, and I have purposely not finished it because when it's done, it's done. I'm not going to have that to look forward to anymore. Schitt's Creek, I'd never started that. We got into that and that's pretty good. So and I got a whole long list of them. There's things I'm waiting to try. We're going to have a little more time, I'm afraid.
There's a C in that.
Okay. Yeah. Because I'm a stalker, I was just looking at some of your timeline. I saw you, and I've done this with Frank Caliendo. Some of what he's done with his play-by-play. How amazing is he?
Have you ever seen him in person?
Yeah, we've
interviewed him on Radio Row at the Super Bowl.
He the Cotton Bowl many ago, before he really exploded. Pat Summerall was still alive, God rest his soul, and he and John were working together, and Madden was really Caliendo's. That was his hook. And it was Brett Favre, and he mentioned Favre was still playing, I think. And so I've seen his act. I've seen him maybe twice. And he, the only person, I'm not saying he's this good, but he's pretty close. Robin Williams could go from one, God rest his soul, he could go from one voice to another voice in the same conversation. And Endo can do that. He can go from Morgan Freeman talking to John Madden if he wants to do that. And he's great. He's very entertaining. And he's almost never ugly. It's just funny.
I saw this on April 17th. Did you sit down or did you do something, Zoom, whatever, with Tony Casillas, Michael Irvin reliving back? Was this?
Yeah, that was a Cowboys website thing. And if people are really jonesing for football, you can go to the Cowboys website and find it. They got the league, of course, owns all the big games. And once a season is over, the league owns all the games. Teams don't own the league owns them. So the league gave them the 92 permission to use the 92 season Super Bowl. So Nick Eatman from the Cowboys website was kind of the host, and he was in one place, and I was in my home, and Tony Casillas was at his place, and Michael Irvin was at his place, and so we the league WebEx. And so this was actually really very interesting because they had this idea and to get it going as fast as they could. So they didn't have a lot of time to do practice rules. So in order for the four of us to appear on the screen at the same time with the game, we couldn't use the WebEx software as the cameras that projected us into the picture. So we would have to use two different devices. So I was using my laptop, and then my picture was being captured by my phone's camera, which was logged separate app. And Tony and Michael had to do the same thing, and that was a little bit of an adventure because they were both on iPad. And so you have your iPad and your phone, and Tony, I had to explain to Tony the first time we ran through it that how he appeared on the screen was determined by how his phone was standing. Tony, turn it sideways. No, now you're on your head. No, turn it the other way. Now you got it. No, good. No, back. No, now you're upside down. Turn it back. And but that was a little trial and error, but it was a lot of fun to do, and we just kind of walked through the game. And none of us had play-by-play sheets in front of us that I know of. And, Irvin had such amazing recall of, I would say, okay, here, because I could read the graphic off the TV copy, here's down and distance and game situation. And Michael would say, yeah, I lined up a yard outside the number. And there he goes, lining up 1 yard outside the numbers. I ran a post and the safety pulled over, so I was able to get inside. There he goes, safety pulls over, he gets inside, and it was just amazing. And so as something would happen in the game, now again, we're going back, I hate to say almost 30 years. But I could say, all right, Tony, when you guys got fumble, when Jimmy Jones got that fumble, what were you talking about in the defensive hell? And they remembered. Oh, yeah, we were saying, okay, now we have to do this, and we got to do that. We got to do this with Thurman Thomas. And it was really fun to do. And I think that if people are really jonesing for a little football, they could go to the Cowboys website and find that game. Cowboys Classics, I think they called it. We might do some more, but that one was a lot of fun.
It's DallasCowboys.com, the great Brad Sham, Michael Irvin, Tony Casillas, Nick Eatman, and many others. Brad, thank you very much for being a part as we've launched this. We're wrapping up week 3. Can't wait to see you hopefully down the road once things get healthy and safe, and hopefully at an event near you. We appreciate you.
Yeah, that'd be great. Love you back.
All right, that's
you
Brad
guys be
Sham.
careful.
Yes, sir.
Thanks,
That's the voice of the Cowboys with us on Sikkim 365 Radio. After just tweeted this out, one personnel director calls this the deepest second round in the last 25 years. Believes there's 20 players tonight available that could have been first-round picks. There are usually 7 to 10. There will be as many starters in this round as there were in the first round. Now, that's interesting. Does that not contradict that if you hear that there are only like 16 or 17 first-round grades, to say there's 20 players tonight that could have been first-round, that's not contradictory, but that's,
I think Schefter can be a bit of a shill at times, so that might be just like a PR thing that's, somebody passed him, or it could be his general thoughts as well. I do think it's kind of talking out of both sides of your mouth. You're saying 17 guys have first-round grades. Now, that may just be what a team typically has versus what the scouts out there seem to think, but I'm more in agreement than a disagreement. I mean, you were talking earlier and you were running down some of the players available, and I just kind of cut you off to say there's a lot of great players available because there is. I mean, there's way more than just a handful. There's 20, 25 name guys that have not been touched by picks yet. So I think tonight's going to be really interesting. Denzel should be going. James Lynch has the potential to go, but there's Devaney, even though I know that's a bad name to Baylor fans, and a ton of other players that come to mind from Oklahoma, from Texas, from the Big 12, but also from all country, like a T. Higgins, who we talked about earlier from Clemson. So, yeah, tonight should be a lot of fun with all of the great players that are still available.
All right, so there's also the content of what Cliff Kingsbury's lifestyle is like. And then did you see what Bill Belichick was in? Like some living room of a house that's probably years old.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure Bill Belichick, when he went to New England, he's like, this is nice.
Well, the joke was that I saw somebody make this joke that the Patriots didn't have a first-round pick so that they
traded back out
right,
of it,
so that Belichick didn't have to be on camera. So that he could just get off of camera, so they traded out of the first round so he could go about his business. But, yeah, I mean, the Cliff Kingsbury thing is so on point for him, and the Belichick setup was so on point for him. I think that was more fun things about the draft last night was seeing everybody's setup, and you could see their personalities. And, some coaches had, like, moose heads on the wall, and, some coaches had...
Who was the one that was in Minnesota? Was it who was they had
Mike Zimmer,
like a cabin?
Yeah. Like, everybody had their own kind of unique setup.
And look, Cliff Kingsbury's was pretty much right on the nose what I thought his house
looked like.
Like.
That's what I mean. And so, you kind of see their personalities in their homes.
The only thing that surprised me about Cliff Kingsbury is that there weren't just random women walking.
Especially by that water area.
Like, hey.
Did you see out at the yard, he had a grill that was underneath a pavilion. Then there's the pool, and it's like long and skinny. And then in the back right corner, bed that you could then, like a
cabana bed.
Yeah. Well, you know who else? I got to tell you, my dream patio might be Christian McCaffrey's.
I didn't see that.
He did like a thing about his 22, his foundation. It was right before the Panthers pick. By the way, big up to Matt Rule for wearing a suit on camera last night.
He was so focused.
Yeah, he didn't look at the camera one time, but he was wearing a suit and he was not wearing a hoodie or a pullover shorts. He very obviously the best dressed of the last night. So
yeah.
Here's Craig sent this out real quick. Well, I'll tease this part. Craig sent me this in YouTube, Paul, about
John
the
Henry
Oklahoma president and what he's saying about campus and students, and we'll have that in the next segment, although with Henry next as well.
I wanted to say on Rule, and we can return to it, but a lot of Panthers fans are going to have to learn to trust the process. They were not happy with that pick last night, a number of people that I saw. But Rule said in this conference call with, was it Simmons that they took?
Yeah. They took Derek Brown.
Right. They were mad. I guess Panthers fans were mad they didn't take Simmons. Instead, they took Derek Brown. But in Rule's conference or his draft call, he was telling the moment I saw you at whatever the bowl game was, I knew that I wanted you to play for me. And it was cool. It's cool to see that for the first time for him. And, that pick makes all the sense in the world for what they do.
Do you know why Panthers fans are mad? Where's Isaiah Simmons play? Where is he from?
Where is he from?
Clemson.
Clemson.
From Clemson.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So there's overlap.
Brett McMurphy, Oklahoma interim president Joe Haraz says, after careful deliberation, our intention is to return to instant educational operations by this fall. We will see. Also, one other note on the Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love. Jordan Love is the first skill position player the Packers have taken since they drafted Aaron Rodgers in the first round in 2005.
That's one of the things he mentioned in that interview last night.
15 years, yeah. All right, when we come back, Baylor legacy. His career at Baylor was not as successful as he thought. Career at Lorena was state championship level. John Henry, Josh McCown, Danny White, Warren Moon, still to come. Sikkim 365 Radio.
We are facing some unique challenges at this time. We want to do our part to support not only our community, but our medical providers who are really overtasked right now. Governor Greg Abbott has required dental offices to postpone all elective dental procedures, but still be available for dental emergencies. At this time, dental emergencies are those that are defined as something that would make somebody consider going to the emergency room for treatment. We're offering to see you at our office Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 8 to noon, and we will waive all fees. We're doing this to support the community and support the medical system. This will allow the overtasked medical community to focus on the truly needy at this time. In the midst of what seems to be so much gloomy news, we want to send a positive signal of our faith in our community and in each other. We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're 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 all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in together.
We're all in this together. Thank you and God bless.
March marked 21 years of serving Waco and Central Texas for Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac. Richard Carr employees are the people you can count on to get you in a car or truck safely and on your terms. The showroom is disinfected daily. Employee health is also monitored. Hands are washed and disinfected with great frequency, and the car sales staff will bring a car to you for a test drive, and they can complete the financing online. Right now, all 2020 Buick Encores and Enclaves are in stock, 0% for 84 months. For qualified buyers, plus Richard Carr anniversary savings. You got the 2020 GMC Sierras, the Acadias, Terrains, and all 0% for 84 months for qualified buyers, plus Richard Carr's anniversary savings. Your local family dealer and proud Baylor Bear alumni want the chance to earn your business. Get great prices, free oil changes with a new purchase, and in-town priority warranty service. All come purchase at Richard Buick GMC Cadillac.
Waco, Texas, our city of remarkable growth and opportunity with an even brighter future ahead. What makes it all work is our people living, working, and growing together. And we're proud to be from here, helping and serving the community we call home. We are the First National Bank of Central Texas, taking great pride in being loaned and operated. Come see us at any of our 5 convenient locations. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas, member FDIC, and equal housing lender.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and 2-time champion, and I understand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen, if you're feeling beat day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a specialist in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T, pettycliniclowt.com, and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were injured by a defective product or recalled drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com, principal office in Houston, Texas.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas. Our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. In today's world, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less, sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs. We even offer financing. Everything's included in the price, and more importantly, you'll not get a bill in the mail later on. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule an appointment safely from home, online in minutes at idealmri.com, or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI. And please remember to follow CDC guidelines and practice social distancing. Home, except for the essentials, and be safe and together through this at idealmri.com. We have spent every week, this is close to our third week. We have just over an hour and a half to go. Josh, longtime NFL veteran. Danny White, former Cowboys punter. And then the Hall of Famer Warren Moon now. But we have had some blast from the past when it comes to Baylor, and even those recently. Baylor football, this one, and the blast from the past brought to you by Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac. When it comes to our segments with Baylor football, they are the sponsor of Sikkim 365 Baylor segments. And today, proud to announce John Henry, Lorena great, state record-breaking running back, and, of course, former Baylor running back as well with us on Sikkim 365 Radio. How you doing, my man?
I'm doing great. How y'all doing?
We're doing great, and John Henry joins us here on Sikkim 365 Radio. Do you ever buy anything when you go back into Lorena? Do you ever have to, pay for anything?
Yes, I do. I give back to the community as well.
You should never have to do that. You should. All right, 2,556 yards in 1989, 1,918 yards in 1988, 41 touchdowns in 1999. That dream season, of course, you guys 15-1. What was it like? 14-1 a couple of years before that. Just the way that team was playing at the time.
Oh, it was lovely. The biggest part about that is we played together as a team. There was no I, and we worked hard in practice, listened to our coaches, and like I said, we just played together.
John, you have a season like the ones that you do. How often do people come back and just walk up to you and remind you of that, or want to have stories from the old days?
It's quite a bit. I mean, I had a matter of fact, I talked to a today that he used to live in Lorena and he's in China Springs now. And he always talks about, man, I remember when y'all had that state run, that state championship run in '89 when y'all came up short. But it's quite a bit that people mention that to us.
You played 4 years at Baylor. Those years you got a little over 500 yards. What was the scenario when you showed up? Because Grant Taft was there, then they move on to a different coach with Chuck Reedy. What was the role you thought, and then what was it eventually during your 4 years?
Well, the role I thought I was going to be in was running the ball a little more, but they primarily used me as a blocking back. But also, there was a time that one of the Peyton Firstberg wanted me to come down there and play linebacker, but that didn't ever happen. But some people may not realize that when I was playing ball at Lorena, that not only did I was good on offense, I was good on defense just as well. And a lot of people thought I would be playing defense at Baylor, but I ended up playing offense. But like you say, whenever Coach Reedy became the head coach there at Baylor, that's when I moved to tailback. But it's kind of hard to transition in 1 year to a different position. But other than that, I enjoyed playing over there at Baylor.
You seem to be a gentle giant. You seem to be, when I see you, when I've talked with you, spoken with you, you seem to be a gentle giant. Is that is that really who you are?
Yes, it is. Especially, like I say, I love kids. I love hanging out with kids. I love doing things with kids. I train a lot of kids. But, that's how I am.
Who was your role model growing up? Was it your father? Was it someone in your family? Was it a coach? Who was it?
It was my father. He did a lot for me. He worked 2 jobs. Also, my mom, she was the backbone of the family. But, my dad was a real role model to me as well.
In 1987, what was it? You beat Refugio, is that right?
Yes, sir, that's right.
8-7. And then in '89, that was the Groveton team, and that was the Rodney. Was that the Rodney Thomas Grove? That was Thomas and Groveton,
yes,
wasn't it?
Yes,
oh,
it
yeah.
Was.
Here
yes,
you are, 2,500 yards or whatever, and Rodney Thomas ran for 4,000 or whatever it was. What were your thoughts about watching him?
Oh, he was phenomenal. Like I say, we shut him down, but at the end of the game, they won. The last second clock, that was it.
Mm-hmm.
But another thing also is, I had a great coach, and like I said, it wasn't a team. We played together as a team. We were up by 3 or 4 touchdowns. My coach always pulled me out of the game,
mm-hmm.
and he wasn't big on running the score up and letting everybody get all these record things. But that was a big deal that I liked about my coaches. He wasn't worried about breaking records because it was a team effort. So if you got up like 10 or 30 points, well, I'm going to let these other guys get a chance because, like, if somebody gets hurt and they don't have nobody to fill that position for you, they can jump in and do that for you. So that's what I liked about John Crawford.
5,700, 50 career yards. Do you remember basically almost every one of those yards?
Oh, yes. There were a lot of long ones.
Had to be for that many yards.
Yeah, you scored 69 touchdowns in back-to-back years, 41 your last year, 28. You guys had a great run. You just had a really good run.
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
You know,
it was really great.
Yeah, it was. And it was Coach Crawford?
Yes, Coach Crawford.
He went on to then coach at Tatum, I believe, and had a pretty good.
He left Florida.
Yeah.
Yes, sir, he did. He left and went to Tatum and went on to other jobs as well.
Yeah, I think he even might have gone up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area and elsewhere. What are your thoughts about as an alum and where they have been and what they've done, especially the last decade, the success they've had? Yes, there's been some things that have been bad as well, but your thoughts about when play football?
Oh, to be honest with you, I wish I would have been able to some of those offenses in those offensive teams myself. But like I say, you know, every sport has its up and down. Every program has its up and down. And like I say, you know, Rule did a good job while he was there. So now we're waiting for Aranda to do his. But the only way we can go now is up.
They're going to a two-back system. Craig, am I right with Chuck, with Larry Fedora?
I don't know. I don't know that much.
I think it seems like he's going to try to go to a two-back system, and we're going to have him on next week, by the way. But they did a lot of one-back. You know, they've had dynamic players. You've watched from, what was it, Jay Finley, Paul, Lake Seastrong, Shock Linwood, Glasgow Martin,
Terrence
Ganaway, recently with what they have with Ebner and Lovett and Jermichael Hasty. Is there one that you feel like you kind of like their style more than anyone else?
Man, there was quite a few of them. But, you know, Jermichael Hastings would kind of remind me of myself.
Uh-huh.
And, oh, man, Seastrong.
He could go.
Gadaway. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you name it. There's a big list.
John, go ahead.
Ganaway wore your same number, didn't he?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Did you get permission? Did
you one of those phone calls like, hey, I'll trade you this for your old number?
Yeah.
I know.
By the way, for those that don't know, John Henry works. Is it okay if I tell everybody?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
You've worked 8 before. You're working at Petty Clinic Low T with Dr. Kent Petty. Your thoughts about, you know, you obviously every day likes a good John Henry.
It is. Every day is a great day. And I give my thanks to the Lord above.
Thanks for your time, John. Appreciate you jumping on with us and looking down a little bit back into history, reminiscing as well, and also talking about now. John Henry is our Baylor guest, and again, all of our Baylor segments brought to you by Richard Carr, Buick GM, Cadillac, the Baylor Bear Hotline, and of course, they are keeping their safe distancing and also being very smart, but you can go by their location on Imperial Drive just off Loop 340 in Waco. Thanks to Richard Carr, Richard Goff, and all the great staff there. And also thanks to Lance Aldridge as well. Coming up next, Josh McCown played 18 years in the NFL. 18 years. His thoughts about evaluating quarterbacks coming out of college. Next on Sikkim 365 Radio. We're approaching the time to announce the 10th annual Academic All-Stars team. 20 elite student athletes who excel in both academic and athletic competition from Central Texas high schools. And right now, focused on the nominations that have come so many great young men and women to choose from. Hi, this is David Smoke. Our title sponsor, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952. 2020 Academic All-Stars program is also brought to you by
Westdale Asset Management, Englander Design Pack, Bentwood Realty, Southwest Sports Medicine, Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram, Coca-Cola of Waco, Ray Broker Air Conditioning and Heating, the Texas Sports Hall of Fame, HEB, the McLean Group, Universal Windows Direct, Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue, and the Waco Foundation.
We will announce the team on Friday, May the 1st, and highlight them throughout the month of May. It's the 10th annual Academic All-Stars team, highlighting the elite student athletes in Greater Central Texas, right here on Sikkim 365 Radio.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not your thing. This is Bryce Petty encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Hi, this is the head football coach at Waco High School in Sikkim, P5 Radio with Dave Smoke, Catalina, Smoke. Go Lions.
I went by Waco Custom Marketplace today. They're open right now. Their drive-thru is open right now from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. So you have about an hour and 20 minutes or so right now to go by and get what you want when it comes to what they have with their bakery and or what they also have with their butcher shop. Steaks, hamburger meat, seafood, chicken, and of course, even if you want, like, for example, sandwich meat, turkey, ham, even American cheese. But I went by there today because I'm not someone who makes casseroles. I made a pot of jambalaya and even brought some of it here for Paul and for Craig, but I don't make many of those. But I have found that you make King Ranch chicken because of a packet that's inside the store at Waco Custom Marketplace. Oh, I could talk about the ribeyes and much, much more, and they're fantastic. But there's a packet where you can make King Ranch chicken. It's as simple as it gets. It's got the seasoning. It's got the pasta. And I made that. I've made it a couple of times. Fantastic. And if I can make it, you can as well. The little things also at Waco Custom Market. And they're open right now through Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco Custom Marketplace, wacocustommarketplace.com.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best, most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco with Crown Royal Peach in stock now and Balcones Whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, French oak, rye, and Brent. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Y'all listen up. Tell you something about Group Meals. He's barbecue. It's got all you all the folks you gotta feed, smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. That'll shower, it's better than flowers. And a long business meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's Group Meal.
Next in line. Hi, this is Mart High School football coach Kevin Hoffman, and I'm a proud listener and supporter of the all-new Sikkim 365 radio show with David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smith.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We are open to support our community through this crisis. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-DEAL-MRI.
Josh McCown, Warren Moon, back-to-back segments as we look at how quarterbacks are evaluated as they come into the NFL, the experience, the longevity, and playing in the league right now. And Josh McCown, a heck of a good friend, covered him when he was at Yale High School and throughout his college career. And, of course, he just recently wrapped up, Josh's 18th year in the NFL?
Yeah, 18th year from 2002. Yeah, that's right. Yep.
How were you so resilient throughout your 18 years with the ups and the downs and the things you were able to accomplish? You know how proud I've been. I've stayed in touch with you quite a bit about it. But how difficult is that to stay that focused and resilient?
Well, I think, it's the main thing. It's just, understanding who you are as a player and what your goals are and how you see yourself and not getting that mixed up and understanding, where your value is and what you can bring to a team. And for me, it meant moving around a lot. So my it wasn't necessarily to stay at one place, but that I could bring value to a team that maybe was transitioning, had a young quarterback that needed help, things of that nature. It's what kept me in the league this last half of my career. And so I've been able to stay in that way. But I think that's the main thing, is just really knowing yourself, knowing your value, knowing what you can bring to a team. And then once you get there, doing it full force so you can help any way possible.
Obviously, it's more fun to play all the time and start every game. But what kind of fun did you grab out of being a mentor to so many young quarterbacks and so many young, and not just probably just quarterbacks, but offensive league?
Yeah, I think you enjoy that part of it too, because we're all in this together, and it's a privilege to get to play in the NFL. So if you can help make somebody else's journey better and lengthen their career, then it gives me a certain sense of gratification and peace, knowing that you help somebody else. And ultimately, I think too, bigger than that, you're helping your team. You're contributing to something greater than yourself. So all those things, I hold in high regard, and so it's fun to get to do that. It's fun to, you love the game. It's fun to help a receiver, learn a young receiver learn the ins and outs of a different route combination, or how you're going to, operate protections when you're talking about communicating between a center and a quarterback. So all of those things it's all football, and when you love it, it's easy to find value in it. And maybe it's not as fun as being the number one guy, but again, it's another way that you can compete. You can help your team, because ultimately, if you can help the guys that are playing on the field play better, then you are helping your team and you are competing, and that's what it's about.
Josh, from a player's perspective, how many guys would you say on average are typically tuned into the draft and looking to see what their current team doing, what positions they're going after? And from a quarterback's perspective in particular, are you sitting there maybe a little bit more locked in? And what's kind of the process like on your end from the quarterback spot where you see maybe a receiver or running back get drafted? What's the process of reaching out to those guys and starting to get to know them?
Oh, we always laugh. I think it's all based on the job security that you feel like you have. If you don't think your job security is very good, you're watching that draft pretty closely, see what happens. Then you kind of get an idea if you should start packing boxes or not from a veteran standpoint. But I think guys in general, you enjoy the draft, just because if you're fortunate enough to be drafted, you remember that day, and it conjures up so many memories of those times, and so it's always a fun time of year. And then from a team building standpoint, who's new to my team? How are we going to get better? How are we improving our team, and who are we adding? And so I think it's all encompassing as far as watching the draft, and from quarterback wise, you want to see where guys are going to fit, and I don't watch too much college football per se, but you try to keep tabs on who the guys are that may get drafted, and in this last few months down the stretch, start watching tape on guys and kind of see how their skill set translates to the NFL, and it's certainly easy to do that. Looking at quarterbacks or looking at the position that you play. So been able to watch that, and I think it's a good group this year. Some intriguing guys, and it's been fun, that group of quarterbacks and group of receivers. So I think it's fun to enjoy that process, because these are some of your, and if you're a guy like me, you never know, it could definitely be your future teammate. But guys that are going to be your future teammates, so you want to get to know them.
When you, if you were to look at a college quarterback coming into the NFL, and we had Steve Berline on a couple of days ago, and he kind of gave us the things he would want to see. How would you go about a checklist of what you needed to see? Not the Elway or the Troy Aikman. I mean, those are easy. But what are some things, Josh, you think you need to see if you were drafting a quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to understand his system and where he's coming from and what he's been coached to do, because I want to know if he can process. Can he drop back there and can he make a decision? And a lot of times, and especially in college football, because the game is so different than the NFL, there's ways around that because of RPO games, because of the way that they can space the field, there's ways around hiding a guy that maybe can't process that's got a strong arm. And so we have some really fine college coaches that can get some guys open and make the situation very easy for quarterback. So I want to know if he can process. I want to know if he can drop back there and make decisions and make them in a timely manner and pull the trigger. And so that I think that's the main thing. And that's probably, in my opinion, the hardest thing to evaluate, because it's one of those internal things. It's you can't just look at the outside and go, okay, man, this is like you're saying. Everybody can tell you Elway can play. You watch him, you watch his arm strength, you see all the measurables, and he can probably do it. But it's the guys that can process that last in this league, and so I think that's what you're looking for more than anything. And then where you evaluate process, like their ability to process, where that evaluate, it slides on the scale of their physical giftedness. You know what I mean? And so if a player is super athletic and can make plays with his feet, and he can process, well, that's a heck of a prospect, obviously, and he's got a great arm, whatever. But if some of the other skill sets, maybe his arm's not as strong, but he processes fast, or maybe his arm's really strong and he processes slow. You know, all those things kind of slide and scale, but you got to be able to find how that fits for you and your team.
You mentioned watching the draft and seeing people get in and making the joke about moving. Did you ever have one of those moments where somebody got drafted and you went, oh, I'm going to have to sell this place?
No, I don't think. I mean, I got traded the second day of the draft in 2006 or 7. So, but it wasn't because somebody was coming in. It was just because I was hoping to kind of go have a play. Somebody wanted me to come in and play when I went to the Raiders. When we drafted Jamarcus Russell. So that was it was almost the opposite. Because he got drafted there to move, because they were like, all right, he's probably not going to be ready to play. We want a veteran player, and they traded for me on the second day of the draft. So yeah, I've had situations like that where you're like, oh man, this is not good, or you have a guy, a teammate or a buddy come in the next day, into workouts, and he's like, man, and you're like, what's up? And he's like, well, they drafted a DB, or they drafted somebody in my position group in the first round, so that guy's not going anywhere. So it puts me on the bubble. So and that's when the business hits you in the face. And we try to talk to young players about that all the time, like. You can't get in this business and feel comfortable. There's a draft next year, and there's that, and there's 1 year after that. They're constantly trying to turn it over and replace you. No matter how good you play, they're trying to get better at that position. And so you got to constantly and that's life on the edge. And especially if you're a middle tier player, that's the career that you live for 5, 6, 10, however long it goes.
And Josh, isn't that what Aaron Rodgers got a dose of last night with the quarterback pick by the Packers?
A little bit, I don't know that Aaron will be packing his boxes.
Right, yeah.
Unless he chooses to. But at the same time, it's just ironic, and it's crazy that they've not drafted a skill player except for when they drafted him 15 years ago. But it's unique, and they got a good young player in that. But it's that window where you're going, do I maximize my veteran quarterback years that he has left, or do we look to the future? And so. Those are always hard conversations that buildings have to have, but they got to set the course. And for Green Bay fans, I guess you could get excited because you've seen it happen before, and you've seen it be successful with Aaron. But I guess it's for Aaron probably one of those situations where it's different when the shoe's on the other foot, and hopefully he can maybe learn some things from the time that he and Brett had, and maybe that transition will be better. But I could certainly see on his end where you'd be frustrated that they didn't go out and help the team a different way, other than finding, your future replacement. Josh
McCown with us on Sikkim 365 Radio. The scene and the picture of you at the end of the game against Seattle, I got to tell you, because I've known you since you're like 16 years old. Not known you that well back then, but I covered you. That was heartbreaking, and I know you gave everything you had. And if anyone ever had a question about your whatever, and if they shouldn't, if they did, they shouldn't. Is it now? I mean, is retirement a word because of Josh McCown?
It is in my house. I don't know about everybody else. But, I don't know, man. We're trying to sort through everything. I'm trying to just get this hamstring.
Right.
I'm certainly thankful for the opportunity that Philly gave me last year to be able to go in and be a part of that organization. And it was a cool moment. I still, obviously wish the game would have turned out different, but you guys said it. I mean, I've been in a lot of different situations over my career, and it's been a long journey and not a lot of ups. And I would say that this year was an up for me, and just getting to watch a team. You believe in teams so much, you believe in the next man up, and you hear all those things. But when you're in some of the organizations that I've been in, or in the years that I've been in those organizations where it was transition year, you don't get to experience any of that. And I got to experience that this year, watching a group of guys have that next man up mentality, and we run down the stretch and Carson plays out and all that stuff, and we get into the playoffs. And I think just the emotions of all of those things kind of hit me walking off that field of, is this going to be like I lace them up? All of that, and just the thankfulness and gratitude and the letdown. And it's what's beautiful about sports is you can on a Sunday afternoon walk out there and get the whole gamut of emotions and get pushed and I think it pushes us to become better people. So I'm thankful for that. I don't know what the future holds, so we'll see. I'm just trying to appropriately social distance and get this hamstring healthy.
Well, good luck with that, because that was amazing, that scene. And I'll wrap it up with this. You mentioned, Paul, hold on. You mentioned how it may end, but we also know how it started with your father and your mother, two great people, Robin and Pat. And then, of course, everyone knows about your brothers, Randy and Luke, and the family. Has there ever been a tighter family? Could you ever imagine a family tighter than the McCown family?
I don't know, man. Everybody gets to, enjoy relationships with their siblings and their parents the way that I have. It's been a blessing, and I'm thankful, and thankful to get to kind of watch my brother, start to realize a dream that we thought in our house was really far off, and then he made it really a lot closer by going down to A&M and playing, and then following him and getting to play there. And then, for myself, getting to go to the NFL, and then my little brother following me there. And then to get the journey through that with him was awesome. To get to work out every summer with Luke and to get to talk football. And that's been just, to have somebody that you grew up in your house and to be able to talk your business, the ins and outs of your business like that, it was special. And, my sister never gets mentioned, but always been there, along the way, just cheering us on. So from our own little, family unit, it's close and tight, and we appreciate that. And I've appreciated theirs for sure. Mom and Dad have been awesome over the years, and they certainly set a great tone for us growing up. And we've just been, blessed beyond anything we could imagine. It's been a cool ride.
From Jacksonville to SMU to Sam Houston State, 18 years in the NFL, coaching in between. Good luck, Josh. Thank you so much, part of us in what we're doing here with Sikkim 365 Radio. We appreciate it. Tell the family I said hi.
We'll do it. Thanks, Smokey.
All right, that's Josh McCown. He went to SMU, and his brother Luke played at Louisiana Tech. Randy, of course, was a tremendous running quarterback at Texas A&M and had himself a career all throughout whatever he did. When we come back, Danny White. When you get the great quarterbacks in Cowboys history, there's Staubach and there's Aikman and Meredith and there's others, and you hear about Romo, and sometimes for whatever reason, Danny White sometimes is overlooked. Maybe Dak Prescott's a part of that mix sometime soon. He's next on Sikkim 365 Radio.
We are facing some unique challenges at this time. We want to do our part to support not only our community, but our medical providers who are really overtasked right now. Governor Greg Abbott has required dental offices to postpone all elective dental procedures, but still be available for dental emergencies. At this, emergencies are those that are defined as something that would make somebody consider going to the emergency room for treatment. We're offering to see you at our office Tuesday and Thursday from 8 to noon, and we will waive all fees. We're doing this to support the community, support the medical system. This will allow the overtasked medical community to focus on the truly needy at this time. In the midst of what seems to be so much gloomy news, we want to send a positive signal of our faith in our community and in each other. Us together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
All in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together. Thank you, Les.
Waco, Texas, our city of remarkable growth and opportunity with an even brighter future ahead. What makes it all work is our people living, working, and growing together. And we're proud to be from here, helping and serving the community we call home. We are the First National Bank of Central Texas, taking great pride in being locally owned and operated. Come see us at any of our 5 convenient locations. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas, member FDIC, and equal housing lender.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and 2-time Big 12 champion. And I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that sets the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. high-performance men remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recalled drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com, principal office in Houston, Texas.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right in Central Texas. Our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. In today's world, the healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less, sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs. We even offer financing. Everything's included in the price. Importantly, you'll not get a bill in the mail later on. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule an appointment safely from home, online in minutes at idealmri.com, or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI. And please remember to follow CDC guidelines and practice social distancing. Stay home, except for the essentials, and be safe, and together we'll get through this at idealmri.com.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Tom Albers, staying in touch with you and your money through these difficult and changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Pitch out to McCormick. To the blocking, but then just obliterated by Chris Miller.
Now back to Sikkim 365 Radio, presented by MRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget. Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
Here we go, this 5 o'clock hour. We spoke with 18-veteran Josh McCown about evaluating quarterbacks and his career and longevity. Danny White played in the NFL 13 years, all with the Dallas Cowboys under the great Tom Landry. He now joins us live. Danny White on Sikkim 365 Radio. Paul Catalina, Craig Smoke, and I'm David Smoke. And Danny, thank you very much. Appreciate you. When I spoke with you earlier, you said you're just bored out of your mind. I mean, that's about as good as you can sum it up right there?
Well, I don't want to get my wife mad at me saying that spending time in the house alone is boring, but truth be told, yeah, that's about right.
13 years with the Cowboys. 13 years, and obviously Super Bowl championship. Started out with what you did as special teams with punting, and then obviously an efficient and very electric at times quarterback. Back then, most people did play with one franchise. Would you have ever wanted for anyone else?
Well, when I retired, that was one issue. You get so ingrained in a particular system, a particular head coach, that the thought of going to another system, another team, wearing a different uniform is almost unbearable, as it was for me. I could not picture myself in another uniform, and that was part, although it's fourth or fifth on the list, one of the reasons for my retirement.
Do you ever think it's wild that nobody will ever do what you did again, and that you were the backup quarterback to Roger Staubach, so the starting punter?
Well, I was also starting quarterback and the punter for 4 years. For 4 years, I was up to Roger and punted, and for 4 more years, I was the starting quarterback and punter. And yeah, I think it's just become such a specialized game that it will probably never happen again unless it's maybe in a backup role. Punter gets hurt and the backup is their quarterback, and it might happen. But on a regular basis, probably will never happen again.
We see players get drafted like Joe Burrow. Like he's going to be immediately expected to help the Bengals win games. A lot of guys getting thrown into the fire. You had the opportunity to sit back and learn a bit behind a great player in Roger Staubach. How valuable was that time, and what were some of the takeaways that allowed you to be a better overall player when your came to lead the charge?
Well, it was even that. There's not enough money to pay for the kind of an education that I got watching and learning from Roger, because we were similar in our demeanor, in our competitiveness, we were different in the way that we played the game. He was more of a runner than I was, and things like that. But I mean, my gosh, I could have gone to any university on the planet and gotten the kind of education, not just for football, but for life, leadership, camaraderie, synergy, all that kind of stuff that I learned from Roger.
Danny, you played with the Cowboys, obviously the 76 to 88, but you played with the Memphis Southmen of the WFL. So on draft night of what, of course, is right now day 2 of the NFL draft, which used to be the weekend. Now it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday. You were already in a league, so you never really went through that, did you?
No, I did, because I was drafted prior
to
going to the World Football League. So I actually found out I had been drafted by the Cowboys. I was down the street in Scottsdale, Arizona, and heard it on the radio. And that's how I found out that the Cowboys drafted me.
And then, of course, you spend the time with them and had the career. I don't know. I've been trying to think of how I could ask this question, because when you hear about the names and the Cowboys quarterbacks of Staubach and Aikman and Meredith and others, and, of course, Romo had a great run, and now Dak Prescott. I'm on the I like to carry the flag for Danny White with what you did in your career. And, there's guys that have been in that list that have never played in an NFC championship game, and yet you were a part of 3 in a row. Do you feel like at times you're underappreciated, or do you feel like, no, everybody does appreciate what I did?
Well, I think the people that were fans back then and were very knowledgeable and understood the game probably appreciated me. It's just that, I've never been very good and don't want to be good at making a claim for my own my own success or whatever, but and maybe that's a fault. Maybe I need to be better at that. But I just was a football player and loved to play. And yeah, we had a great. People don't realize. I mean, I only started 5 seasons, started and finished 5 seasons. I actually started 7. The 6th, the best year that I ever had, and the most fun I ever had, was 1986 when I broke my wrist in the 8th game, and that was kind of the beginning of the end for me. But so I had a relatively short career. It was my 7th season of professional football before I became the starter. So I just didn't have the 10 or 11 years that had and that Roger had, and so I'm very proud of the fact that we went to the playoffs all 5 years and 10 playoff games, a 5-5 record, and 3 NFC championship games, and that's something that's very unique, I think, in professional football. I don't think anybody's gone to 3 in a row in their first 3 years as a starter, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it was because of me, because I had a great team that I inherited from Roger, and all the talk about comparing quarterbacks and so and so is better than so and so is so ridiculous, because there's no position of any sport in the world that is more dependent on the people around him than a quarterback on an NFL team, and I was no exception. I just had a great bunch of guys around me, and I happened to fit. I happened to be the quarterback that could things that they needed done from the quarterback position. And every team is different, and people don't realize that. And so you just want to be the best quarterback, or the quarterback that team needs at the time. Well, for those 5 or 6 years in the 80s, the early 80s, 80, 81, 82, 83, 85 were great years for us. Unfortunately, we didn't win a Super Bowl, but we went a long ways, and I think had the kind of record that Cowboy fans would love to have right now.
Mm-hmm. You do Cowboys games on Compass Media Networks. I know that, and your team. Your thoughts on CeeDee Lamb being picked at 17 last night?
You know what? I don't do the kind of research and homework that Jerry and Steven do, and so I trust their judgment. I think their record in terms of first-round draft picks has been pretty good. And in putting together a team, it's become such a big deal, to combine talent on a football team. And, you don't have to have the best running back and the best receiver or even the best quarterback. You have to have a bunch of guys that complement each other. And I think they've done a good job of that. It hasn't been as good as we would like as fans. But in terms of talent, I thought last year at the start of the season it was the most talented roster I had ever seen. And then for them to end up with the record they did, obviously talent is not the only thing that goes into it. But CeeDee Lamb is certainly a talented receiver and one that, oh man, I don't know that there's a group of receivers in the league any more prolific than the Cowboys receivers right now on paper.
There's no doubt about that. From 1 through 3, they are absolutely stacked after last night, Danny. And you add in Zeke and Jarwin, and there's a lot of toys there for Dak Prescott to play with, not to mention a pretty good line as well. What have you seen from him over the last couple of seasons, just being the guy, having been the guy now for a while? Obviously got some contract things to work out with Dak in the future, but what have you thought of Dak Prescott as the head man in charge there for the Cowboys?
Yeah, the whole contract thing is baffling to me. It's a world that I never lived in as a player. The kind of money that they're talking about is just hard for me to even comprehend. And yet Dak is kind of the same thing that I did. I've tried to tell him that I think it would be very magnanimous of him to take, maybe $1 million and put it into a fund to be distributed to all those who went before him and kind of paved the way. And I would gladly participate in that.
That's great.
I would make more money from that than I did playing the game.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it is crazy. But Dak is his intangibles are just about off the chart. When you talk to the players of the locker room, his leadership ability is incredible. There are some little technical issues that he needs to deal with in terms of throwing the football, but it's so minor. I mean, if they just put the talent around him that he needs that fits his skill set, then I any year in the next 4 or 5 years could be the year for the Dallas Cowboys. Problem is all the other teams have kind of caught up with us in terms of their ability to find good talent, good players, and there's a lot more talent out there to be found as well. But the thing keeping them out of the Super Bowl is certainly not the quarterback. I think Dak has everything it takes to lead a team to a Super Bowl championship.
Danny White had his number 11 jersey retired by Arizona State. He's a College Football Hall of Fame, Arizona State, the State Hall of Fame, among many others as well. You played for Frank Kush, who's a legendary coach at Arizona State that really kind of helped them explode onto the national scene. Was he as different, the opposite of a Tom Landry with his personality?
Personality-wise, maybe, but in terms of discipline and the kind of a tight ship that they both ran, very similar, but different ways of implementing running that system, because Tom Landry had the benefit of money. He would just simply fine you. If you didn't do your job, if you were late for a meeting, if your helmet touched the ground in practice, we had rules. And if you broke those rules, he wouldn't yell and scream at you or make you run extra after practice. He would just fine you. And it was as simple as that. Frank Tush didn't have that benefit. And so Tush was in your face, call you every name in the book in front of the team, watching film, and just embarrass you to the point that either your pride kicked in and you wanted to prove that he was wrong about you, or you transferred or quit.
Yeah.
Well, and the interesting thing about it is, of the 60 freshmen that played on our freshman team, back then freshmen couldn't play varsity, there were 6 of us left when we were seniors. So he didn't have a great track record when it came to keeping players, but in terms of his record, and those 6 players that were left my senior year, all 6 of us got NFL contracts. So that's a pretty good record. That's 100%. And we were 32-4 in those 3 years, and won the first 3 Fiesta Bowl championships. So results very similar between Frank Tush and Tom Landry. Discipline and their philosophy very, very similar. The way they implemented that philosophy very different.
How close, to close it out with this, was that pass on the slant when you had that game, Montana, Dwight Clark, and of course that championship game that eventually launched the 49ers? How close was that pattern? Was it to Drew that almost really did go the distance?
Well, it was a tearaway jersey away from us winning that game.
Mm-hmm.
Eric Wright got him by a finger on the back collar, and not only do we win that game and probably win the Super Bowl against Cincinnati, but Drew would question being in the Hall of Fame, because that would be one more feather in his cap in terms of the number of big plays that he made. I don't think there's a receiver in the history of the league that made more big plays in big games than Drew did. Some of them weren't even, making the block on Tony Dorsett's 99-yard run. Things like that a lot of times didn't even went unnoticed. So, yeah, there was a lot riding on that fingernail tackle, and a lot of things might be different. It might have changed in the history of the NFL if it hasn't been for that tackle.
No question about it. And he has been a part of some of the greatest, most memorable catches of all time, some of them from you. Danny, hey, thanks for responding and being a part. Enjoy the weekend. I know that right now it's just a time. I don't know really what's ahead of us, but it seems as if perhaps things are getting a little bit brighter, and I do appreciate your time, as Paul and Craig do as well.
You're very welcome, and thank you, and please give Chip and Joanna Gaines my wife's fondest wishes. She is their biggest fan, and I'm right behind her. So thank you guys for having me on.
We might something kind of a surprise for you. We'll see. We'll see if we can get that done.
We are all in.
All right. Thank you, Danny. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Cowboys quarterback, punter, 13 years with the Cowboys, and again lost to the Eagles, the 40 and Redskins in back-to-back NFC championship games. You win one of those games, Pearson Hall of Fame, others, maybe Danny White goes down. Who knows? And how that explodes them into the decade of the 1980s.
So Danny White was the quarterback when I was young. This year I guess I was alive. He was the quarterback. Was born in 1980, right after Roger Staubach retired. So Danny White was my first favorite Dallas Cowboy when I was a little kid. And then Troy Aikman came along and that kind of changed that a little bit, but because Troy Aikman came along and won 3 Super Bowls when I was in high school. But yeah, it's to me still wild to get to talk to Danny White. I think about what 7-year-old Paul would think about that if I'm just on the phone with Danny White.
Yeah, that's a really good get, and we've had a lot of good gets, so congrats, Smokey, on being able to set that up, and I was interested to get his thoughts on Dak. He's obviously a Dak fan and feels like there's just some very minor throwing things that he can improve on, but that's the issue for why they're not in the Super Bowl right now. It's always funny to hear some of the older players make their little cracks about contracts these days. I mean, that would drive me nuts too, though, when, at most, like a superstar's making $1 million a year back then, and that's like a signing bonus now for guys who are getting drafted last night, basically.
By the way, I still have a thing, and this came out of the time when I was bringing Roger Staubach over to our setup at Houston at Radio Row, and Dak came in, and they had a little, 3 or 4 minute conversation, and Roger said, hey, would you want to have dinner with me, and we can just sit down and talk, and I know I haven't called, I just didn't want to get in your head during the season, and Dak was like, absolutely, yes, let's do it, and then Roger's like, well, I'll call Troy, too. We'll all just go together. And I told Joe Trahan and Scott Agolnick from the Cowboys, I said, if the team wants to raise – every year they could just have this event and just raise money from a ridiculously rich Cowboys oil millionaire just say you can come dinner and sit at the end of the table and just have Dak and Romo and Staubach and Aikman and Danny White, all those quarterbacks sitting there together. Heck, get Gary Hogeboom. Whatever.
Randall Cunningham.
Yeah, get them all. Just have them. You guys can come and sit at the Cowboys round table and ask a question occasionally, but just sit and listen. And I guarantee you, they would that Salvation Army thing would be full.
Oh, my God. There have been times when they have those special shows that they have on the Cowboys radio network.
Yeah.
Where there have been some of the quarterbacks who have been together in the same room or in the same – like on the same at times. But he was fantastic. Just so many plays, just a little bit here and there away, including the 49ers game with Ed Too Tall Jones. We'd think about the bat down the pass from Montana and Clark.
His name up a lot more because of the comparisons to like the similarities between the two, but also you are having to relive, part of why that comparison is like because you came up just short a few times. And so it's kind of a double whammy. On the one hand, very cool to have his name thrown back out there as much as it was with Romo playing, but at the same time, you also got to relive the losses,
Staubach was sharing part of his starting role with Craig Morton, and they did follow Don Meredith, but it wasn't like that. Meredith was good, really good, popular as well. Then Danny White has to follow Staubach. And you never want to, you hear the word, you never want to be the one that follows the legend. You want to be the one that follows the one who followed the legend. That's not always the case, but how hard was that going to be? And Romo was not the one that had to follow Aikman. That's what made people so excited about him, is they had gone through a desert of quarterbacks between Aikman and Romo. When we come back, Hall of Fame quarterback Warren Moon on Sikkim 365 Radio. At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas. Our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. In today's world, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illness injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less, sometimes thousands of dollars, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs. We even offer financing. Everything's included in the price, and more importantly, you'll not get a bill in the mail later on. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule an appointment safely from home, online in minutes at idealmri.com, or give us a call, 83-IDEAL-MRI. And please remember to follow CDC guidelines and practice social distancing. Stay home, except for the essentials, and be safe, and together we'll get through this at idealmri.com.
We are facing some challenges at this time. We want to do our part to support not only our community, but our medical providers who are really overtasked right now. Governor Greg Abbott has required dental offices to postpone all elective dental procedures, but still be available for dental emergencies. At this time, dental emergencies are those that are defined as something that would make somebody consider going to the emergency room for treatment. We're offering to see you at our office Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 8 to noon. We'll waive all fees. We're doing this to support the community and support the medical system. This will allow the overtasked medical community to focus on the truly needy at this time. In the midst of what seems to be so much gloomy news, we want to send a positive signal of our faith in our community and in each other. We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together. We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
All in this together.
We're 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 all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're in this together.
We're all in this together. Thank you and God bless.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Hi, this is Jeff Hume, head football coach at Midway High School, and you're listening to Sikkim 365 Radio with David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
Hey, this is Bryce, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
This NFL Draft segment on Sikkim 365 Radio is brought to you by Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac at the Imperial exit off Loop 340 in Waco.
We have had, in this capping off our third week of the launch of Sikkim 365 Radio, we Hall of Famers in football. We've had Hall of Famers as well in Major League Baseball. Remember Tom Glavine. Obviously, Curt Schilling will be in discussion again sometime next year. And, of course, some Pro Football Hall of Famers as well, including yet another one. Warren Moon, Pro Football Hall of Famer, Canadian Football League Hall of Famer, five-time Grey Cup champion, and obviously a heck of a football player. And Warren, thank you, sir, for being a part of the show. Thanks for being a part of Sikkim 365 Radio. You were not drafted in 12 and ended up doing some great things in the CFL. How do you kind of watch the draft these days? Does it bring back any of those memories for you?
You know, it really does, and thanks for having me on your show today. I watch these young guys, and I the exuberation that they show when they go up on that stage, and they're handed their hat for the team they're going to play for, and they get a chance to hug the commissioner and be with their families and all that. That's a great time in their lives. Whether they make the team or not after that, how long their career is, they'll always have that one moment to look back at. So that's something I envy about these guys that are going through this process, and that's why I watch the draft every year, because it still gets me excited to see these guys so happy, because I know what they've gone to get to this point, and that was something that was robbed of me back in the day, that I didn't get a chance to do that. But I did have a really good career, but that was something that I always wish I had a chance to experience.
Did that leave a chip on your shoulder when you finally, after you win 5 Grey Cups and you get to the NFL, did that kind of make you go, okay, look what you guys missed?
Yeah, no question. It left a chip on my shoulder to show people that I could play the position, because back in those days in the late 70s, there were still those stigmas and those thoughts that African Americans could not play the position of quarterback at a high level and couldn't be the leaders, couldn't be decision maker, couldn't be the face of a franchise, all those different things that you had to deal with. So I knew it was going to be tough for me to get an opportunity to play that position, and it was just as tough going into high school to try and play, the same thing in college. But fortunately, I was given opportunities at those different levels, and I made the most of those opportunities. And it was the same in Canada. They gave me the opportunity to play pro ball, where the NFL wasn't going to give me a chance to play quarterback, so that's why I went up there initially. And then finally, the NFL gave me the opportunity to play quarter, made the most of that. So that's what it's all about in life, is if you're given opportunities, if you're prepared and you're willing to work hard, you can make the most out of it. You just have to make sure you don't give up and just keep fighting.
Because of that reason you said about the evolving black quarterbacks, to see Deshaun Watson, Mahomes, Dak Prescott, Lamar Jackson, the list goes on and on. How proud does that make you in some way?
Yeah, that's one of the things I'm most proud of my whole career, that not only my play, but also Doug Williams winning a Super Bowl and the way Randall Cunningham played during the time that I was playing. The three of us really played the game at a high level, and I think we really changed a lot of those attitudes and those stigmas and those stereotypes about whether we could play that position or not. And it allowed a lot more African-American quarterbacks to get those opportunities. And now you see top quarterbacks in this league today are African-American. So that's something that makes me stick my chest out a little bit and just to know that I played a small part in that.
When you left the Canadian Football League, you had been decorated like nobody ever has. Had won like nobody really ever has. Was there a bidding war? Were you a free agent, or did somebody have your rights? How did that work, Warren?
Yeah, that was the great thing about me going to Canada. Once I signed, because I had to sign 6 weeks early prior to the NFL draft, because the NFL draft is, after, and the NFL starts a little bit earlier. So I had to make my decision earlier. And once I found out I wasn't going to be drafted as a quarterback, that's what made me go to Canada. So on draft day, when it finally came up, I was wishing I didn't get drafted, because there could have been a team that wanted to draft me, say, later in the draft and just keep my rights. But because I was not drafted, I was a free agent when I came back to the league. And there wasn't free agency at that time, so I was considered kind of an anomaly because I had a chance to create a bidding war. My agent, Lee Steinberg, did a great job of navigating through that, and I had 7 different teams that wanted my services, and we narrowed them down to Seattle and Houston, and I ended up choosing Houston because of the financial package they offered me, and also my head coach from Canada was the head coach at Hugh Campbell at that time. So those were the reasons why I went to Houston over Seattle.
What was Bud Adams like to negotiate with back then?
He was tough, He was always fair to me at the end of it, but I guarantee you, he made me work for every I got. It wasn't easy negotiations. I think I negotiated 3 different contracts there, and none of them were easy, but he always ended up being fair at the end.
Warren, what is one of the first few things that you look for when evaluating a quarterback? We saw some guys, obviously, like Justbert and others getting broke down as they were getting picked last night. But what do you look for when evaluating a quarterback and whether they'll transition to the professional level?
Well, there's a few different things. I look at decision-making. I look at their feet. You got to have good feet to play quarterback. That's one of the reasons Tom Brady, I think, is still playing at level, is because he's not the greatest athlete in the world. He's not going to break out the pocket and run for a yards or scramble, but he has really good feet in the pocket. So he's able to, slide around to maneuver in the pocket because his feet are still active. So I look at that, and then I look at accuracy as far as your arm. And accuracy and the feet have a lot to do with throwing the football. If your feet are in good position, you're going to be pretty accurate with the football. So those are 3 things initially that I look for, but there's so many other intangibles that go into being a really, really good quarterback, especially, being how tough you are, mentally tough, and being able to, bounce back from adversity, whether something bad happens in a game, how do you bounce back from that? All those different things, how competitive you are. There's a lot of things that go into being a good quarterback.
You put up ridiculous numbers and really were ahead of your time, weren't you not? When you kind of ended the 80s, and then here comes the 1990s, and you attempted 655 passes one year. 600, like 3 times, almost 4,800 yards. Were you guys ahead of your time?
I think what you're seeing today with all these spread offenses and the ball being thrown around a lot kind of started back when I was in Houston, running the run and shoot, and we spread everything out with 4 wide receivers, didn't have a tight end on our roster, and we were throwing the ball all over the place. So I think that led to what you see today with all these different offenses where the ball is really being thrown around, a lot of adjustable routes by the receivers, the quarterbacks throwing for, now it's nothing to throw for 4,000 yards. You better throw for 4,500 or more. Guys are throwing for 5,000 yards now. So, yeah, I think we had a little bit to do with that, with the way our offense was operating at that time.
you played, for several different coaches in the NFL, obviously, but with the Oilers alone, you had Jerry Glanville, you had Jack Pardee, and there was, I know the exit of Jerry Glanville was ultra controversial on his part. But what was that like? That whole period of, Jerry Glanville had kind of run sour there in Houston, and Jack Pardee was going to come in.
Yeah, Jerry had kind of worn out his welcome with the whole, man in black and riding the motorcycles and leaving the tickets for dead entertainers and all the different stuff that he did. He was full of antics, but he ended up going to Atlanta, I think, after Houston and had some success. But Jack Pardee was really a nice change because his personality was a lot more low keyed. He's a guy late in the league for a time, was a very successful linebacker with the Redskins and the Rams. I knew him as a Ram when I was growing up in Los Angeles. And then he goes to the University of Houston and does a great job there, running the run and shoot, and then comes over to our place. So I knew a lot about Jack when he came in, and he did a great job for us. We weren't able to get to that elusive Super Bowl, but we had some very successful teams.
Warren, I know that you've been a mentor to Cam Newton. Obviously, he's a man in search of a team right now. I was just curious, not so much where's he going to land or anything like that, but just how's he dealing with this phase of his career to where he's not the young rookie of the year type player anymore, but he's still somebody who feels like he can get through these injuries and be a valuable player for somebody. Just how's Cam, from your standpoint, dealing with the uncertainty, I guess?
Yeah, I haven't talked to him much lately, but it seems like he's wanting to show, from what I've been able to see on some social media stuff, that he's showing that he's healthy. He wants to show people that his body is in good shape and that he's ready to play. And I think most teams, they don't really worry about how he looks. They want to see the x-rays of his foot. They want to see the x-rays of his shoulder, the two things that he's hurt over the last couple of years. And I think they also want to sit down with him exactly who he is, because Cam brings, a big personality to any team that he's going to go to. He's all about style, and he worries about how he dresses and the hair and all this different stuff. And some teams are probably okay with that, but a lot of teams probably aren't. So that kind of cuts down on your opportunities. And, right now, there's not a whole lot of opportunities out there to be a starting quarterback. And I just can't see him being a backup right now, because I think he still has too much left if he is healthy. And he's only 30, 31 years old, so he's right in the prime of his career. So it's a very difficult position he's in right now, but he's probably going to have to wait till, later in the offseason before an opportunity really comes out that he's really serious about.
Warren, you're a Pro Hall of Famer. You're a part of other Hall of Fames as well. But was there anything professionally better than being, I guess, inducted? I asked this to we've had a lot of Hall of Famers, though. We've been fortunate, including you. Is there anything better than being inducted into almost basically pro football immortality?
There really isn't. And, I went in Canada in 2001, and that was great to be involved in that Hall of Fame, because I did spend 6 years up there and had a lot of success. But when you go in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, I mean, you're talking about players that ever game in the world, and now all of a sudden you're one of them. You're with a group of guys that you used to root for guys that are in that place, or you used to idolize them, like a Bart Starr or Roger Staubach, somebody I tried to gear my game after when I was a young kid, and you just have all these great players that you're all of a sudden now a part of this same team. And then you find out after getting to know these guys, people than they are, players. They're really good guys. They're doing great things in their communities still at this, at this age of their careers. So that's what you love about it, being around these type of guys. And there's definitely, a special thing about being a part of a Pro Football Hall of Fame and being a part of this team. This is a team that you can't be cut from, you can't be traded, you can't be waived. This is for life, and I love being a part of all this.
I went a couple years ago when Ian Tomlinson got inducted from here in Waco, and the Gold Jacket dinner is the most amazing thing I've ever been to, Warren. And just as a football fan, I was just giddy and in awe, and they just announce everyone's there and they run the gauntlet. For someone even who's in it, do you get, stars in your eyes and those moments when you're like, all these guys are here in this room?
Yeah, there's two moments. We have a luncheon the Friday called the Ray Nitschke luncheon, named after the great linebacker Ray Nitschke, and it's only Hall of Famers included in this room. And the new class gets to be involved in this luncheon, but they don't get a chance to say anything during luncheon. And to have these guys from as far back as the 1940s or whatever it might be, guys get up from every decade that has a class coming in, and they talk about what the Hall of Fame and what football has meant to them. And some of these stories are so inspirational. Guys have tears in their eyes, and it's just a great afternoon of a luncheon. And then the night of what you were talking about, the Hall of Fame, that's when the guys are given their jacket. And to me, that's when you're actually in the Hall of Fame. When they give you that gold jacket, that's what it's all about to me. The speech and everything you do on Saturday is kind of, post the Hall of Fame. That jacket, when they put that jacket on you and you walk around that stage and everybody gives you a standing ovation, and your family's like right out there on the table, and you see your mom or your dad or whatever. I mean, it's one of the best feelings you ever want to feel. But you know that you've arrived, and you have all the people that are closest to you in your life right there with you, enjoying it with you.
Warren Moon, we had Josh McCown on at 4:45. He played 18 years in the league, and he's been a journeyman, but has also been able to have an amazing career. We had Danny White, the former Cowboys quarterback, who, of course, had to sit behind Staubach for many years before he had his time. And then to end the threesome with you, with what you've put up. I'm trying to put up the numbers of everything together, but nearly 100,000 yards passing. Let's see here, 400.
My arm got a little bit sore when you said that.
No kidding.
I think there was a pain that shot through my shoulder as soon as you said that.
Man,
I don't know how I lasted as long as I did, and sometimes I look at highlights of some of the hits and shots that I took, and I wonder why I even ever played the game that long. But I definitely loved it. I still love it today. I'm a huge fan. I'll be glued to the TV here in about an hour to watch the second round of the draft. And I'm so glad the NFL decided to keep the draft going, because we got something that's live and we don't know the ending.
No, that's exactly right. We have evidence, facts, and we have a future to watch it. Hey,
beats Tiger King,
exactly.
Warren, thank you much. Congratulations on your career. Thank you for being a part of our show. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. You guys do a great job, and good luck to you.
That's Warren Moon, Hall of Famer, both in the Canadian Football League, where he put up huge numbers, won 5 Grey Cups, put up massive numbers in the NFL as well. Almost 100,000 yards combined passing with McCown, White, and, of course, a lot of it was from Warren Moon. 600 touchdowns and just enormous amount of statistics. We'll come back. Sikkim 365 Radio. This is Paul Catalina, David Smoke, Craig Smoke, and our producer today, Dylan Sham. Back in a moment.
Are you in the market for a new home, or you're trying to sell your current home? Well, talk to my good friend Lance Donaldson and the Donaldson family team, brokered by eXp Realty. He's closing houses all over the place. You need a realtor in your corner who's going to listen to you, and Lance is one of the best listeners I've ever met in my life. Just as a personal sense, he knows, he'll find out everything he needs to know about you, everything you want in a home, everything you want for a sale of a home, and he's going to do the absolute best to find your perfect dream home and get the best situation for you. Because again, he's fun to be around. You have to spend a lot of time with him. When you're with a realtor, you want somebody who's going to be fun to talk to and going to get you and going to listen and hear your needs. That's what Lance does. Give him a call, 254-214-3713, or visit his webpage for the most current listings, lancedonaldson.exprealty.com.
One size fits all. That may be all right for stable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-798530. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We are open to support our community through this crisis. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
I hate my job, but I don't mind getting up in the morning. I dread each day, but I can't wait to get out of bed. You ask me why, and what I'll say to you is true. Well, you can get breakfast tacos at Rudy's. Scrambled eggs and brisket, they ain't fooling around. Sausage wrap, son, they're the best in town. Barbecue for breakfast, yes, it's true. Put a smile on your morning at Rudy's Barbecue.
Next in line.
Waco, Texas, our city of remarkable growth and opportunity with an even brighter future ahead. But all work is our people, living, working, and growing together. And we're proud to be from here, helping and serving the community we call home. We are the First National Bank of Central Texas, taking great in being locally owned and operated. Come see us at any of our 5 convenient locations. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas, member FDIC, and equal housing lender.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Central Texas community, a part of Waco, and a part of the healthcare system because we're trying to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. In today's world, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. Unfortunately, there are still significant illnesses outside of COVID and injuries that occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time, offering premium MRIs just like a hospital, state-of-the-art technology and specialists as well. You'll pay less, sometimes thousands of dollars less. Whether you're using insurance or not, Ideal MRI will accept most insurance and also no hidden cost. You will not get a bill in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule an appointment safely from home by calling 833-IDEAL-MRI or go online, idealmri.com. I told you this story is that when we announced we were going to do the radio show on Sikkim 365, Dr. Rob Maxey reached out to me immediately. They're the title sponsor of this show that started now this closing out our 3rd week, and we appreciate him and the great staff at Ideal MRI. Remember, you continue to follow the CDC guidelines, practice social distancing, stay home, except for the essentials, and be safe. We can do this together. We'll get through this together at idealmri.com.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, with Crown Royal Peach in stock right now and Balcones Whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, French oak, rye, and brimstone. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out on Facebook and Instagram.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm, and rent, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction with 24 experienced agents who are excited about serving you. Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camille.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
I have a list of all the guests you've had this week. I'm not sure we're going to have enough time to go through them, but we do have the list.
If you just start now.
From what we had today. Well, we want to get a couple of things. Greg Brown, the 3rd, 9th best overall recruit in the country from Van out of Austin, committed to play at Texas, stays near and will play for Shaka Smart. I think Shaka Smart hanging around was the key to that. A huge recruit. They've had the big men before, but for some reason have not been able to win with them.
They've had plenty of lottery picks, but no hardware that goes along with it. So this might be a similar case, or he might be the guy that breaks through that ceiling for them.
Laramie Tunsil news, Craig?
Yeah, Laramie Tunsil of the Houston Texans is a very rich man. He's already probably pretty well paid, but he is now top paid offensive tackle in all of the National Football League, a $66 million deal. And the interesting part about this is that he did not use an agent. He negotiated the contract, 3 years extension, $66 million, 57.85 of that 66 is guaranteed. So he did it for himself, and he negotiated directly with Bill O'Brien.
And he gets to, I'm sure Bill O'Brien likes that. I'm sure.
Oh, yeah,
and
of course.
He gets to keep most of that now because now he doesn't have to kick up to an agent.
The record viewership we expected because there's nothing else that's really been going on. Thursday's first round, the most ever watched NFL draft telecast with 15.6 million people. The combination of ABC, ESPN, NFL Network, ESPN Deportes, and digital channels broke the previous mark of just over 12 million 6 years ago. 15.6 million number also represents a 37% increase over the draft a year ago. Peaked at nearly 20 million at 8:45 Eastern.
Is that when it actually started? Not at 7 instead of 7:35 when they finally made the first pick?
It was probably right about the time they got to that third or fourth.
That was just a ridiculous waste of time.
It's a little insensitive. My mom came over and watched the draft last night, and I kept it to myself because I didn't want to get scolded by her for being insensitive. But you can use the pre-draft show to do all that stuff.
I mean, it was ridiculous. Start the draft. Start it with the number one pick at the beginning of the broadcast.
The All-Star games, they've all got concerts. It's crazy.
I wanted to say on the draft in the large numbers, I mean, that is something to get excited about if you're the NFL and certainly boost out there. I do think there's a slight asterisk just because of their current situation where we're all just basically forced to watch TV so I do think that had a huge impact, but I will say on the bright side of that, even if the numbers are a little bit distorted because of what we're going through, there's clearly people wanting to see live, fresh, new TV, and I think this should be something that maybe spurs the other leagues to go, okay, we might not have fans in the stands, but it looks like people will still watch if we put a product out there. So we'll
top
see.
3 markets: Columbus, Cleveland, and Cincinnati, Ohio.
Well, there you go.
Joe, the top 3 picks right there.
And Ohio State had 3 picks in the first round as well. Now, this was interesting.
Technically had 4 if you count Joe Burrow. So
here's an interesting thing. Right before the draft, Adam Schefter tweeted out, for the first time, it feels like forever, a real-life sporting event.
Oh, gosh.
And then he had to come back a few, let's see, I don't know how many hours later, because everyone is so insensitive or so overly sensitive. My apologies to anyone who was offended, was caught up in the moment of the NFL draft and about the WNBA draft. Thanks to Paul Catalina for reminding me about what had happened the weekend before.
I'll say this about the people who came at him. Okay, do you think a guy who is the head NFL reporter a week before the NFL draft, when he's got multiple cell phones going, I think he has an AFC and an NFC phone just so he can keep track of everything that's going on. All the things that Adam Schefter does, and we can talk about him being a shill and whatever, but the bottom line is Adam Schefter, Jay Glazer, Chris Mortensen, there's probably 5 or 6 guys on that level, Peter King, that are on that level of they can call any owner, any coach, any player in response, for sure, that they're going to get that, almost certainly. So the week before the draft, you don't think Adam Schefter is only focused on that?
Well, I hate the fact that he apologized. He had nothing to apologize for. He simply did not know or didn't care or forgot about the WNBA
and there's
draft.
Nothing wrong with
and there's nothing wrong with that. And the problem is not only the apology, which he should not have apologized, and I hate that everybody caves in to apologize for stupid things that in reality – probably 4 people were actually upset by. But you act because it's social media like it's everybody's mad at me, so I better. It's like 3-4 people who have.
Okay, it's kind of like social media is kind of like how they do radio ratings in markets like ours, where you don't have a people meter or anything like that, which we could go and technically. So they weight people. So if one person who clicks these boxes listens, they say, well, that must mean that 20 people. Right. Because they don't, this group of society doesn't listen to it. No, it could have been just one, Chinese guy that really loved us. That's all it could have been.
Or Lady Bears
entire
fan.
Demographics, yeah.
Graylin Arnold, Leroy Jordan, Marion Stanley, Jaden Owens, William Bradley King, Justin Johnson, Ann Myers, Eric Galco, Rick Tillander, John McClain, Jane Slater, Steve Berline, Clay Johnston, Mac Rhodes, Brett McCabe, Dr. McCabe, Mark Vital, Blake Lynch, John Machota, Max Olson, Odell, Eric Crouch, Eric Nadell, Dan Shanka, Ed Too Tall Jones, Stuart Mandel, Mickey Spagnola, N.D. Kalu, Zach Barnett, Danny White, Warren Moon, Josh McCown, John Henry, Brad Sham, Grayson Grundhoefer, and David Helman. And I might have accidentally left somebody off the list. Thanks to all of our great sponsors. We are not here without you. And I can't tell you enough about what they've meant to how. And you know what? We're scratching the surface today. Scratching the surface. I already know we've got some names on Monday and Tuesday's show that will actually maybe even top it today. That's our goal every day. All right, Paul Catalina, great job. Thank you very much. Dylan Chapman, thank you. Craig Smoke.
Hey, Denzel Mims should be getting drafted tonight. I don't know about James Lynch. I think we might be waiting on him to tomorrow. Not sure on that, but definitely looking forward to hearing Denzel's name called. And then the rest of this weekend, being able to come back Monday and talk about 6, 7, 8, 9 guys that get drafted or signed.
Yeah, because, Craig, you're really, really good really good about those undrafted free agent pickups, and Baylor might have 3 or 4 of those, who knows, depending on what's going on. Thanks to Ideal MRI, Boozer's Jewelers, the First National Bank of Central Texas, Waco Custom Marketplace, Johnson Realtors, Edward Jones, Ben Erlinson, Brad Wilson, and Tom Albers, Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Petty Clinic Low T, the Willis Law Firm, Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac, Lance Donaldson Realty, Christy London, Personal Trainer, Westdale Real Estate and Investment Management, Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue, Stonewood Dental, the McLean Group, Milo All Day, and Tyler Candle Company. Have a great weekend. I'm David Smoke. Good night.